Happy surprise live stream, everybody! It's that special holiday that only comes once every. Just getting set up here. I was able to find myself a small parcel of time, and so I thought, hey, let's go live. Because, you know, I don't do it as much as I would like to. It's fun for me, hopefully educational for you. I often learn things myself along the way. Just bear with me as I get everything set up here. Not yet in the chat. But, for those of you in that unique segment of the population that enjoys watching me eat, you'll get to see me finish off my... Oh, it's doing this thing again. You'll get to see me finish off the rest of my lunch. Okay, got the URL, so let's just quickly tweet about it. There is a Small YouTubers Boost Twitter account, if you did not know. It is YouTubers_Boost, because the whole thing wouldn't have fit. So if you're curious about following on Twitter, I don't use Twitter as much as I would like for Small YouTubers Boost at present, but, you know, I'm hoping to get into it one day. Pop-out chat, here we go. Amanda's Right Live says, hi, the real Ayo. Hey! I learned all the things with you. Review me, my guy. Review me as well. Give me all the exposure. Okay, cool. How is my audio? Is there an echo? If you don't like the sound of my voice, I can't help that. But how's the quality? Am I, as they used to say, 5 by 5? The way that scoring mechanism worked, that was radio transmissions back in the good old days. Maybe they still use it. I don't know. And so you would rate people on whether or not they were loud and clear. It would be a scale of 1 to 5 for loud and a scale of 1 to 5 for clear. So 5 by 5 meant loud and clear. 10 out of 10 audio. Yes. Sweet. Okay. Just going to do some quick sharing of this live stream so that, you know, hey, if you want a little bit of exposure that kind of comes with the channel review, get that Small YouTubers Boost. Let's get you an audience. And me too, while we're at it. Just so we can hopefully, you know, help as many people as possible in whatever short time we have together. I'm hoping for about an hour, but honestly couldn't say for certain. Life does get in the way. As soon as I thought I had time to do this, the time got eaten up by something else, and then I got it back. So I was posting in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Small YouTubers Boost. I was like, hey, surprise live stream. And then I was like, no live stream. And then I was like, yes, live stream. So I was doing a little yo-yoing there, a little push-pull. Apologize for that. But hey, we're here, we're live, it's happening. So that's very exciting. Okay. I think I've got everything good to go. And you know what? Doesn't have to be perfect. Thanks, Ayo. I hope I'm saying your name right. That is very nice of you to say. So, Amanda's Right Live. And again, please excuse me while I finish up my chicken Caesar wrap from McDonald's. This video is not sponsored. I hope John's here or watches this at some point because he's obsessed with watching me eat. Hashtag, what is it? One more mukbang, Ray? Okay. So I love the profile picture that you got there. Very becoming. It's fun, flirty. It's nice. It pops. High contrast. You got a lot going on there. It's pretty good. And it's in sort of an anime style. And I know that you do Pokemon content, and so that seems on brand. So that's good. My one suggestion, possibly, to make it a little bit more clear that it is Pokemon, is that if you could include a Pokeball somewhere in that image, maybe in the umbrella, I mean, I don't know who or how it was made, so like asking them to change it so that you're holding a Pokeball would be problematic. Or even just in the white space or something, or maybe like your favorite Pokemon or something somewhere, just so that at a glance, they'll instantly get, if they know what Pokemon is, and that's your audience. People who don't know what Pokemon is, like, screw them, in your case. If they know what Pokemon is, and they see a Pokeball, a Pikachu, or whatever, and then they're going to be like, oh, hey, that's Pokemon channel. Because right now I look at it, and I'm like, I don't necessarily know what the channel is about just from the image, even though the image is really good. I don't want that to come off as criticism. I really like the picture. But from a standpoint of communicating product information, not product information, sorry, I just saw the word product on my screen and it got into my language. Communicating information, it doesn't communicate huge information, but all it would take is just a little something, a little Pokeball or something, and then instantly people would get it at a glance. And so, Amanda, I was thinking about you the other day, and I was thinking about your channel, and because the channel name doesn't really convey what it's about. Because honestly, when I first heard Amanda's Write Life, and I also have to remind myself when I hear it that it's not about writing. I always thought that it was, you know, when I first saw that name, and even still thinking back, but it's like, I would think it would be about creative writing. You know, maybe it would be video prompts for people who need ideas for writing a story or something like that. Or, you know, talking about creative writing process, getting published, things of that nature. That's what the name would lead me to think. I'm not suggesting that you change it necessarily. It's just a thought that I have. I, you know, take it or leave it for whatever it's worth. I do product reviews, Pokemon content, and gaming. Life is hard, and I hope that I help somebody out while catching them all. I like that. My one thought... I'm actually going to dive into the channel really quickly here. And again, for those of you, I apologize for eating on stream, but I figured I can give you more time this way. So I'm multitasking a bit. Sorry for the chewing sounds and all that. And for those of you who enjoy it, enjoy. Take a look at your videos here. So, sort by most popular. That is exactly what I thought. Okay, so... in your channel description... oh, hey, the picture has the Pokemon. They're just out of frame. I see. Okay. So, maybe if you move the focus of it, like if you move the image up higher so that the Pokemon could kind of be seen, you might need to zoom out a little bit to get them in there. You don't have to get all three. But that could, yeah, that could, from an information communication standpoint, convey more. And, I mean, you'll lose some of the umbrella, but honestly... I think it would be more effective. So, okay. It's interesting that in your channel description and in your banner, you both mention, in both places you mention product reviews first, Pokemon second, gaming third. However, looking at your top videos here, I'm seeing Pokemon, you know, and then other things, but Pokemon seems to be, I think, the primary focus. You know, your font is very kind of like the Pokemon font. That you've got in your banner there. So, and yeah, so you might want to consider putting Pokemon first and product reviews second, because also Pokemon and gaming is very sort of similar. I mean, Pokemon is a show and movies that you can watch. I saw Detective Pikachu, by the way, and loved it. I'm not a big Pokemon guy. I've got Pokemon Go on my phone, but I've never really been that into it. But Detective Pikachu was awesome, and I'm glad I was able to see it in theaters before it went away. So that was cool. Anyways, that was just a total sidebar. But Pokemon is, I mean, it started as a Game Boy game, right? And so it is gaming. It is on your phone, on Nintendo platforms. It is card games and things of that nature. So if you were to go Pokemon product reviews gaming, it sort of provides a buffer from Pokemon and gaming, because when you put Pokemon and gaming side by side, I don't know, it almost sounds like the same thing repeated twice, or like the thing between them should be gone and you're talking about Pokemon gaming. I don't know. Those are just some random thoughts. One thing I was thinking about with regards to your channel, actually, I was thinking about you over the last couple of days. One thing that I think we should all try to be a little conscious of is not changing things too often. Because you could get brand confusion. You can confuse the audience. You can confuse the algorithm. And so one of the things that other people have said, I think Roberto Blake, Tim Schmoyer, people of that nature, I enjoy both of them. More so Roberto Blake, because I find him more engaging to watch, and he's a little less clickbaity with his thumbnails and stuff. But they're both very, you know, knowledgeable, experienced, successful, and intelligent about YouTube, and I enjoy watching their stuff. And so one of the things that they both kind of say is that, you know, if you're going in and, for example, using TubeBuddy to go and, you know, improve your tag and search results, then you need to do that, but then let it sit for, so help me, up to like 6 months. Because it needs to get spidered, recaptured, re-indexed by the algorithm, and the algorithm wants to see how people respond to it over time. So if you're changing a title, you know, once a month on a video, then it's not getting enough time to see if it can get some new life in the algorithm and get some momentum behind it before another change comes along. And so I mentioned this before, but when you're looking at things about, I want to tweak and make my channel better, you have to look at, you can look at your successful videos for inspiration and information, but for the things that you want to change or tweak or play with or experiment with, don't go for the things that are still getting views. You're going to want to go for the things that aren't getting views, because the risk, for one thing, you know, if you've got a secret sauce that you don't even, you know, necessarily understand, like a lot of people have been talking about that YouTuber, the solo van life lady who got like 1 million subscribers in like 3 weeks or something. A lot of people are sort of talking about that and trying to break down that success, figure out how it happened. I've got quite a few theories, but you know, there's luck to these things. There's an algorithm that's constantly changing that we don't necessarily know it. The creators don't necessarily fully understand how it operates anymore, because the machine learning algorithm, it rewrites its own code basically based on success and failure that it has in trying to achieve its objectives. And so it's a mystery. And so when it works, it's like winning the lottery. You know, maybe it's not the Powerball, but it might be, you know, $1,000 or something equivalent. So you don't want to mess with that. When you're getting views, you kind of just like, you know, the temptation is, hey, if I'm getting 100 views a day right now on that video, what if it was better? And you need to resist that temptation, because if you go in and you change something, you lose that algorithmic inertia, that momentum, and it says, whoa, hold on, I got to look at this video fresh again. It's like hitting the brakes. So you want to be careful about that. So if you are going to play with you know, particularly to a video. I mean, channel layout and stuff, that's less of a factor. But if it's particular videos, go into your analytics and look at the videos that have not received any views, or not any views, but have received less than 100 views in the last month, is sort of my advice. And maybe those are the ones that you can play with. But anything getting more than 100 in a month, let it be. Let it do its thing. Leave it the heck alone, because it's achieving a relative level of success that you don't want to interrupt. And as small YouTubers, I'm sure we all have plenty of videos that we can find that are getting less than 100 views a month. So focus a little bit more on those. Look at the successful ones. Maybe copy some of the same like tags or strategies or thumbnail approaches or whatever for the less successful videos. That might be a good approach, but that's just a concern, because, you know, we want to constantly better ourselves. We want to put in that effort, and I applaud people for putting in the time and the effort to do those things. I think it's fantastic. I think that's how you find long-term success. But we just don't want to interrupt our progress but while doing that. And that's like one of the things I say. Everyone says, oh, what's the biggest thing I can do to help my channel? If you haven't released a video today, then release a video today. That's the biggest thing you could ever do to help your channel. Then once you have a video out in a given day, then you can work on things like, what can I do to revive my old videos or whatever. And I realize not everyone can get a video out every day. I'm not saying you need to. I average, for Vacation Impossible, my primary channel, I average 2 videos a week. And on this channel here, 1 video every 3 weeks. It's not great, but it's, you know. And so maybe you haven't gotten a video out today, but you're not able to. You have nothing recorded. You're not able to do like editing. You can't do things with sound. Maybe you're somewhere where you can't listen to stuff. That happens. Maybe you're just on your phone or a tablet, and you know you do your editing at a desktop. I'm in a lot of those situations myself often, and so those might be the times where I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go caption that old video. That's something that's gonna be good. So like I notice here, you have closed captioning on your most popular video, which is great, and it's an hour, so that's like wow. And so another thing that you could do to help your channel is to go in and caption it. And so my trick, you probably heard me say it before, but I'll say it again for the new people in the audience. The trick to captioning is you want to go in and edit the auto captions rather than starting from scratch. And so then you're just correcting errors, and it's a lot less work. It goes much, much faster, easier on the hands. So that's a bit of a cheat, but I do recommend that. My approach has been, I will go in and look at my videos, and I'll look at every video that's like less than 2 minutes. Make sure they're all captioned. Then I'll go through again every video less than 3, less than 4. Work my way up. The shorter ones, they're easier. And so, you know, that's less time investment, and maybe you start realizing that benefits. I saw some analysis just recently. Somebody, Little Monster Media, Little Monster Media Company. They had reverse engineered the algorithm from a YouTube white paper, and they've combined it with some data that they got from TubeBuddy of something like 2,000 channels and 200,000 videos. And so they were breaking down those things and trying to figure out like how certain videos succeeded, why other videos didn't. And one of the interesting things that they put up there in a video I was watching recently is a graph of videos that do have captioning versus don't have captioning. And I've said in the past that in my experience, adding captions to a video increases the views by between 7 and 11%. That's been my personal experience. But I was looking at that graph, and after a certain point, it really starts to splay, which means like the gap between captioned and non-captioned videos gets bigger and bigger. And so I think as channels grow, as they find success and get viewership, for a couple of reasons, captioning, I think, has an increasing impact on your success, not a decreasing one. So I'm thinking making that part of your workflow is good as much as you can. I know it's hard work. I know it's not easy. Sometimes it doesn't auto-caption, and those are the times you got to just type it out. It's tedious work, but you put in the hard work and you get rewarded. And so part of it is that, people who are hard of hearing or deaf, they might be able to appreciate it and enjoy it more. As well, people who don't speak the language might have the opportunity to get it translated. That helps. But I think the big thing, not to diminish those are important. It's not a value thing. I'm just saying algorithmically, having accurate captions is great metadata for the YouTube algorithm to crunch on. If it knows every word you've said, and correctly, I was just captioning a video today that I had put out a few weeks ago that I hadn't gotten around to yet, and I said something like, hold your wallet. And the auto-captioning thought I said, hold your balls. That is a very different video. And so by correcting the error, I'm showing the algorithm that no, I'm talking about protecting your wallet when you travel. I'm not talking about whatever. And so those things can be very important, because then the algorithm's like, no, I know what this is about. I'm going to serve it to the right people. I have high confidence. The algorithm has high confidence that it knows what your video, your channel is about. It's going to put you higher in search and recommend it. If you haven't heard this, this might blow your mind. If you've heard it, it might be obvious, but something like 80% of all YouTube traffic comes from recommended and browse. I'm just going to let that sit in for a moment as I have a bite of my lunch. 80%. That's huge. And every channel's experience is going to be different. It's not going to be 80% for everybody. I get about 60% of my views right now through search, which I credit that almost entirely to TubeBuddy. I was getting 25, 30% from search before I started using TubeBuddy. And so there is a link down below in the description of this live stream where you can go and you can download TubeBuddy. Even the free version is 31 free tools that you can use. I don't understand. I mean, some people use other services, whatever. But if you don't have something like TubeBuddy or TubeBuddy itself, I question, and I don't mean this in a judgmental way, but I honestly question how seriously you're taking things. Keeping in mind that I went without TubeBuddy for the longest time. It took me forever to be convinced to give it a try. And now that I use it and it's so integral, it saves me so much time and gets me so much more traffic from search that I just want to go back in time and slap the hell out of myself for taking so long to give it a try. And it's a challenge for me because I want to tell people about it. And they often reply with, oh, you're just trying to sell me something. And I'm like, no, I can save you. You gotta listen to me. It's like, imagine if time travel was a real thing and you could go back and prevent somebody from making the biggest mistake of their life. They probably wouldn't believe you. That's such a problem. I don't know how to overcome this problem. Maybe those people just can't be saved. They're going to have to come to it in their own time. Because I know that some people told me a little bit about TubeBuddy before I finally gave it a try. Last August. It's been nearly a year now. But it's like, oh, if I could just go back in time, I would be so much more successful. Right now on Vacation Impossible, I'm pulling in about $80 US a month in ad revenue. My ad fill rate's 73%. So that means out of all of my views, 73% of them are monetized in some way. But if I'd had TubeBuddy in 2016, I don't know. I'd probably be pulling in double, triple that at this point, I would imagine. I'm not sure, but it's made a huge difference. So, anyways, lots of different thoughts there. I've reviewed this channel before, and so, I don't know that I have tons of useful stuff to say. My usual channel layout thing. Take a couple of these playlists, Pokemon ROM hacks, randomizer, maybe mobile games. Take a couple of those and throw those in your home screen here as rows. Yeah, a playlist is a row. you'll see here the popular uploads, for example, you get 5 videos displayed. So make sure it's a playlist that has at least 5 videos. But this will bulk it up a little bit, because right now these are a lot of automatic things. Uploads is just the last things you upload, which is fine. Popular uploads is most watched. And then you got your popular playlists here, which is kind of incomplete. I would consider trying to add 2, but modifying these playlists of playlists is actually kind of a pain. I need to remind myself and relearn how to do that, because I've been trying to tweak my channel that way. But I think between uploads and popular uploads, if you have a couple playlists of specifically focused content, it looks more professional, and seeing uploads, popular playlists, it's kind of repetitive. So if you put in some specific content, niche content, whatever, it will seem less repetitive, and therefore more visually interesting. And again, you know, people will have more videos and opportunities to click on your videos when they are on your channel page. You got your social links there, which is fine. The A and the N on Amanda in the banner are a little close. There's a very thin blue line between the two of them. So, I mean, if you do tweak your banner at all, one of my suggestions would be to just bulk up the blue there so it's a little bit more clear what the lettering is there. But, you know, by and large, it's a very nice channel. It's very bright, friendly, nice and colorful. You got a lot of good things going for it there. And, yeah. I've reviewed it before, so hopefully that's in some manner helpful. I'm going to check in with chat as I chow down some more, see what's happening. Judge me and tell me how the hell pins. McDonald's fired me, so all the mukbangs. I made it, I'll update. Did McDonald's legit fire you? Jerks. Hey! Stupid Robot Fighting League. This is not the official mukbang. This is just a little bit of fun. Thank you for, Stupid Robot Fighting League ordered my t-shirt, which is amazing, and then wore it at the end of one of his last videos, and it was like, I got misty-eyed. I was like, this is so amazing. My family saw it, and they were like, oh my god, that's so awesome. So thank you so much for all the support. It blows my mind, it humbles me, and I greatly appreciate it. I think whatever fate, exposed you to my channel. Let's see here. Watch my mukbang video today. Achilles is here. Welcome, Achilles. We were at 5 viewers for the live stream. Yeah. Next Hollywood, baby. Sorry. Just managing my lunch. I'm gonna get my ketchup for my fries. I'm not even that hungry, but the fries don't taste good when they're cold. So I love the auto-closed captioning. They're quite, let's say, creative. Yeah. The captioning seems to think I swear like a sailor sometimes. The number of F-bombs I've had to remove and change into, like, totally normal words is surprising. Like, did they test that thing out on Cinemassacre? And so now it just thinks everybody swears all the time? I don't know. Part of me, again, if I had a time machine, I would like to go back and tell myself to keep track of all the very funny auto-caption fails. Because I think that would make a hilarious video. Sort of like an outtakes reel. Wouldn't mind a review. GSBA Shadows. Cool. I remember you. People are debating who rules more. In the way that it's like, no, you rule more. No, you rule more. I love this community. You guys are the best. Achilles loves Amanda's banner. Achilles is a smart man. Owning the Pokes Bizarre Adventure. Got you some traffic. That's nice. That's good. Yeah, and it's funny, though. Those things can be fickle. YouTube is fickle. I used to own the search term for James Darren for many, many years. And it was nice. It kept my channel afloat for a long time when nothing else was getting me views. But the video wasn't in HD. And so I don't own that search term anymore. I tried bringing it back to life, you know, adding the word live or some other things, but it's funny. I still get a bit of traffic on it, but sometimes you get a traffic spike, right? You want to try and figure out where it comes from. And so, I've been able to figure out where a lot of my traffic spikes for my James Darren video comes from. It's when Gidget is on AMC. It's the easiest thing that I just hop on Twitter, I search James Darren, and I see people talking about, oh, Gidget's on AMC, I haven't seen it in so long. And I'm like, that's where I got that extra 150 views yesterday from. Thank you for the banner love. No, it's a great banner, very professional. Yeah. Work clearly went into it. Ray for president. I was president of the dance council in my high school for a few years. I have executive experience. Vote Ray. Vote with your thumbs up. Vote with the like button on this live stream, please and thanks. Okay, the real AO is the next person to speak in chat and ask for a review. Also, I've reviewed Amanda before, so I know it's no problem, but with the real AO, I just want to say that some people sometimes have regrets about requesting a review, because then their channel will show up in the live stream with the possibility of it also appearing in the thumbnail for a period of time. So just to make sure I have your consent to actually look at your channel on my live stream, I will not play any videos. My speakers are off. I'm not here to steal your content, but I just want to get your full consent so that I can actually do the thing you asked me to do, because some people have complained about that. A little salty like these fries, in case you didn't notice. Sorry for yelling. I hope I don't kill the headphone users. It just pissed me off. This guy reached out to me after I reviewed his channel for free at his request and was like, how dare you put my picture in your thumbnail? I'm like, dude, YouTube auto-created that. And he's like, you're trying to horn in on my success. I'd like double the subscribers. I'm like, shut up, dude. You asked me to help you, I helped you. It's free exposure. Who wouldn't want that? I don't know. At least I can get a copyright claim. Oh my god. In case you didn't see the drama on this in the Small YouTubers Boost group, again, facebook.com/group/smallYoutubersBoost. If you didn't see this, a couple days ago, I'm on YouTube, minding my own business, a little notification pops up that it had found content that matched my content. So this person, and I use the word loosely, stole my entire video, including the thumbnail and title, and just re-uploaded it 3 months ago. And so I don't know if I just got this new ability to have these matches pointed out to me, or maybe I've had it for a while and the automatic match didn't find it until just now. I don't know. I wasn't very transparent behind the scenes on that thing, but yeah, it gave me an opportunity to go check out, like, it notified me and was like, hey, what do you want to do? I could message the person, I could give them 7 days to take it down, or I could get them to take it down right away and issue them a copyright strike. And I was like 95% angry, 5% flattered, because someone was like, oh, like, there was a little part of me that's like, oh, somebody thought your video was nice enough to steal it. That's so cool. And part of me is like, I want blood. Like, where's the neck? I want to wring it, just stabby stabby. And they only had like 25 views on the video, and that video for me has gotten over 2,000. They have literally 0 subscribers on their channel, so clearly not monetized. But at the same time, it kind of bothered me. They presented it as their own. And so, but it was surreal because I've had content ID matches on my primary channel, because before I had a guy writing music for me, I just used popular music, and I was never in it for the money. So if I got matched to, you know, the Pet Shop Boys song that I used on my train trip or something, if that gave them some revenue, then I'm like, yeah, I want to totally support the bands I love. That's fantastic. But I would get those notifications, and every time they came in, I'd be like, copyright, content ID match. Oh, thank God. It's not a strike. Okay. Breathe, you know. And in the early days, before I fully understood what that was all about, I'm like, am I going to get sued? I don't want to get sued. I was offered monetization way back in the day, long ago, 2010 maybe, 2000. Yeah, something like 2010, maybe a little sooner than that. You had to have like 8,000 views on a single video. I don't know why it was that number. And then you got invited to monetization. I got invited very early on because of that. And they repeatedly invited me. And I'm like, wow, they were really keen on this. I wish I had said yes, but I was terrified that because I used other people's music, I couldn't possibly. So anyways, finding myself on the other side of that, it was an incredibly surreal experience. It's like, oh, I'm going to claim copyright on someone else. I've had people try to content ID match my music that my guy Cam B writes for me, and his work is amazing. It blows my mind. I absolutely love him. I'm so lucky that it was funny. We were at a Boston Pizza because we're friends, and I was just talking about, I don't know, somehow Content ID matches came up in the conversation, and he's like, yeah, you know what what I love to do after a hard day and I'm all stressed out is I'll sit down and I'll write some music, and that really it like the stress just melts away, and that's really my happy place and all this stuff. And I'm like, sorry, you say what now? And he was like, yeah, the only thing is nobody hears it. Like, I don't even want credit. I don't need them to know my name. I don't want, like, people following me and subscribers and stuff. But it'd be nice if my music was out there and some people were listening to it. I'm like, you what? I've known this guy for years. I'm like, okay. I have an idea. And so that particular kind of partnership was born. And so that was amazing. But so here I found myself on the other side of the copyright thing. And I went whole hog. I'm like, you know what? This pisses me off. Because, like, I used TubeBuddy on the video. So I have it installed as a browser plugin, and there's the Videolytics tool. And one of the great things it does is you can see where the video was shared everywhere on Reddit and Twitter. It hadn't been shared on Reddit. It was shared on Twitter, so I was able to find their Twitter account. The Twitter account led to an Instagram account. The Instagram account was nasty. But I wanted to make sure they weren't stealing my pictures or using stills from the video. So I had to scroll through this just nasty Instagram feed. And I verified none of my stuff was on their Instagram feed. So I'm like, oh, thank God I don't have to deal with that. But as I was going through the Twitter feed and the Instagram feed, I found out that they had a travel agency business. And mine is a travel channel. So they were trying to use my channels to drive business to their travel agency. And once I saw that, I'm like, oh no. It's copyright strike time. This person needs to learn a lesson. Love me or hate me for it, that was the choice I made. I don't regret it for a second. The video of mine that they had stolen was responsible for 1/3 of all of the views on their channel. They need to know that this isn't cool. So I said, yeah, you know what? Do it. Take it down now. Issue them a strike. YouTube did it within 12 hours. So I did it. An hour later, I went to bed, woke up the next morning, notification that it had been, they took down the video, issued a copyright strike. And I feel no shame. Anyways, hopefully that bought me some time to see if I got full consent. Yep, no problem. Okay. I'm assuming that's in response to my question. Alright, so let's dive into the real Aya. Am I on the right thing here? Yeah, okay. So that's kind of an interesting profile picture you got going on there. In the chat, it's so small that it just looked like a bunch of darkness and I couldn't really tell. It's got this Cheshire Cat kind of smile thing going on, but it's kind of like a more modern quasi-anime kind of look to it, which is kind of cool. But the scale of it, you kind of lose. And like, so it's a person in a hoodie with some cool hair and like some bushes or whatever around them, maybe some trees, evergreen, I don't know. Here's what I would suggest about that. Zoom in on the character. You got a lot of space above the head there that's just kind of being wasted. So move the character sort of center and moved out. Lose the trees in terms of like zooming in, or keep some of them. It doesn't matter. But I think what you really want to focus on is from the bottom of the strings from the hoodie, from that to the top of the hair. That should be the top and bottom framing so that you get it a little zoomed in. So it's easier to see at multiple resolutions that it's a person and you got this Cheshire Cat thing going on. And then at different screen brightnesses, sizes, resolutions, whatever, glare, it will be a bit more visible, which is good. That having been said, let's look at the description. Hello, this is The Real Ao. This channel is about music, gaming, and more. So, as I was talking with Amanda, the profile, while nice, don't get me wrong, I like it, doesn't convey huge information. Were you to put a music note there and a controller on either side, then somebody in an instant would see music and gaming. Got it. Or maybe it's about the music from games. That's cool too. Right now it doesn't convey anything. It's kind of cool. It's a nice image, but it doesn't give information. Likewise, the name, The Real Ao, tells me nothing. It's a fine name. There's nothing wrong with it. But from an SEO standpoint, Ao is probably not... well, actually, here. We can check it out. Because I've got my TubeBuddy browser plugin installed, I can check various keywords. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to, for a moment, search just AO, see what comes up. First off, you're lost. And yeah, it's a poor search term. It gets a 12 out of 100. So the search volumes are relatively high, but the competition is even higher. So from an SEO standpoint, the name isn't super SEO friendly. Now, having an SEO friendly name is hard. So I'm not saying this is an easy thing to do. I just, if at any point you consider changing the name, consider SEO, possibly. Also, is there a fake AO? Or do you have imposters and competitors using your name? Small YouTubers Boost does. Man, I want to punch him in the throat. I don't really. I'm not a violent person. It's just my way of expressing that they make me angry. There's a group with like 500 members out there. They straight up just call themselves YouTubers, Small YouTubers Boost. They stole our name exactly, except I think they capitalized the T where we don't. So but they wouldn't have the custom URL that we have, facebook.com/group/small YouTubers Boost. And their channel, the group description is literally, we created this because there was another group with the same name, and there was too much going on there, whatever the hell they were complaining about. And they copied a bunch of our rules verbatim. They did a reproduction of our logo. They didn't steal it. They just reproduced it with some slightly different choices. Imposters, man. And the thing is, like, you want to call them out. You want to be like, but then that just drives more attention to them, and that I don't want. But it annoys me particularly because I tell you, at least once a week, I'll get a message on Facebook from somebody complaining about something going on in another Facebook group, and they think it's me. And so they'll come to me and they'll be like, hey, this guy was swearing at me and, calling me racist names. Can you do something? And I'm like, I'm not even in that group, much less running it. That is an imposter. Come join the real deal. Accept no substitutions and you'll have a better time. So I was just curious if that's something you've struggled with. So, hello, this is The Real AO. This channel is about music, gaming, and more. So, don't say hello. I'm just going to give it to you blunt. Conversationally, it's fine. Nobody is searching that word, and if they are, they're finding a song by Lionel Richie that's actually pretty decent. Or Adele, which is not as good, in my opinion. So that's not really searchable. And it doesn't provide information, so it's not serving the purpose that a channel description should. Saying your channel name again in the description, not bad, helps with keyword alignment. But I would mix it up a little, because also you say this channel is about, that's just wasted space, honestly. And so what I would say is music, gaming, and more is what you'll find at The Real AO, and then go on from there. One question that I want to ask, and grammar can be important. When you're communicating in a written medium, the meaning changes. So you say music, gaming, and more. Or do you say music, gaming, and more? Here's the difference. If you put a comma between music and gaming, then you're about music. You are also about gaming, and apparently, other things. But if it's music, gaming, and more, music and gaming is a compound thought. And so you are about the music in games, right? Maybe you're about music games like Rock Band. I don't know. But the comma changes the meaning. So be intentional about that. And so maybe you mean it to not have a comma. Maybe you mean it to have a comma, but that's something to consider. And so go on from there. And go on to talk about, and if you're not sure what to talk about, good indicator is your most watched video. Just talk about that a little bit, So if you've got a video about Rock Band, let's say, you can follow the rule of 3, which is always good to try and pack in some keywords in a sentence structure. Whether we're playing Rock Band, Guitar Hero, or just listening to our, the soundtrack for Mega Man 2. We always have a blast here, and we really appreciate the music in video games. We believe they're an art. Something like that. Whatever. Feel free to use that. I'm not, you don't need to credit me, although you can if you want. But if that's accurate, if that applies, go ahead. But then you get, like, now, Rock Band, Guitar Hero, Mega Man 2 music, those words are going to be in there, and so that will help with the algorithm understanding what your channel is about, your search engine optimization, things of that nature. And also it gives people more to know, like, because right now, music, gaming, and more, I don't know. What kind of music is it? But if there's a bit of an example, and it's like, oh, Rock Band, man, I miss Rock Band. Rock Band was fun. I'm going to check this out. What are they doing with Rock Band these days anyways? Like, maybe that could be the psychology of it, right? And so you give them a little bit more of a niche and a little bit more of an interest, and then they feel maybe a bit more of a connection or curiosity to go check it out. Let's dive in. Just going to take a quick glance at chat. I'm the fake AO. Oh, Chris Brown. I don't even want to get into it. Comment changes the meaning will be the name of my next YouTube channel. That could be good. I'll be alright. Remember me when you're famous. So this is interesting. That is, it's KFC I'm seeing here in your 2-second channel trailer. 2 seconds is too short. I was going to go to KFC, but ended up at McDonald's for lunch today, so that's funny. They're across the street from each other near where I live. The real AO. The color is nice. It really pops. It does hint a little bit to the highlight from the hair, the profile picture, so that's actually pretty cool. But holy God, is that Instagram logo ever huge? And the problem also with it is there's obviously a semi-transparent PNG layer that you put on top of the banner. The problem is it's clipping around the edges that it doesn't look crisp clean. There's or a nice transition. Like, watch with me here. Look at that Discord logo, right? It's crisp, it's clean. You go from blue to background to image. No muss, no fuss. You look at the Instagram one, and there are these hints of like a white background in only parts of it, inconsistently pixelized between that and the background. So that tells me that PNG was meant for a light background. There are, if you go to Instagram on the web, you can actually get their brand assets, and they have a variety of like PNGs and other files at various resolutions, and some of them are intended for different purposes. So there's going to be one that's cleaner than that you can get for free. I know because I have it. I use it a little bit on my website, vacationimpossible.ca. My website's crap. Don't go to my website. It needs a complete redesign. My website. I focus more on YouTube. I think I just have a website because I felt like I should. So anyways, that having been said, these giant icons are not clickable. If I click your banner, I get nothing. This will not take me to Discord. This will not take me to Instagram. This is a pet peeve of mine, but I imagine other people feel the same. In fact, let me know in chat. What do you guys think about social media icons that you cannot click on in banners? Do you hate it, not care, or like it? Let me know in chat. I'm curious. Am I crazy about this? I know I'm crazy generally, but am I crazy about this? I don't know. And so the thing is, you've got the clickable links in the social links in the bottom right-hand corner of your banner area. And they look fine there. The icons are fine because it's all automatically done by YouTube, and people can click on these to get where they might want to go. And as well, like I said, I like the font. I like the color, the contrast of that banner. But the social icons don't tell me anything about what your channel's about. It's about music. It's about gaming, right? If there was something there that conveyed that, it might be an idea. That having been said, your banner is always going to be seen, I think, in the context of your channel. As you saw when I was searching, your profile picture comes up. Also in chat and in comments on videos, your profile picture stands alone with nothing but your name. So it's a little soldier, two soldiers. It's your title and your profile picture out fighting the good fight for you, trying to get you viewers, hopefully. The banner never fights alone. The banner is always in the context of your overall channel. And so while I do like to say, like, oh, convey information in the sense of, like, put something there that, oh, it's music. Oh, this is the kind of, games he's into. There's that. However, there's something to be said for a minimalist aesthetic. If you were to just take the social media icons off of this banner and leave what remains, that would look real sharp. Very professional, nice graphic design aesthetic. The text is perfectly framed. I imagine this looks great on a multitude of devices. And so even if you were to just do it that way, just that would be fine. You don't necessarily have to convey information in the banner, but you can as well. If it feels too minimalist, if it feels empty, then maybe putting in music notes, controller, something. I would try to keep that generally clip-arty, kind of vague, maybe not actual specific characters that you don't own the rights to the image, but maybe you could. I don't know. That's a choice that you can make. I'm not a gaming channel myself, so I don't know a whole lot about that. You might want to ask Achilles. He's got a pretty decent gaming channel that he might have some opinions about that on in chat. So, just looking here. So you have a 2-second channel trailer that seems to be saying something to Vsauce. That's odd. I'm also seeing that there is a watermark in several of your thumbnails for KineMaster, Cinemaster. I'm not sure exactly how you enunciate that. I know that it is editing software that in the free version insists on having a watermark. And oh my god, every time I see that watermark, and this is nothing personal, it's just a me thing, but every time I see that watermark, I'm just like, oh god. I was at a laser tag arena recently. I love laser tag. Laser tag's so much fun. If you haven't done it, you're just missing out. It's great workout, great exercise, and just a hoot. I mean, if you play video games, like, do it in real life for a change. It's amazing. But they had video on a screen outside talking about, like, you know, all the different things they have and how awesome their arena is. And it's all, you know, sizzle reel, right? Kind of not unlike a channel trailer, except longer because it was on a loop. And, you know, people are waiting for their game, so you want to keep it, you know, they could watch it for 20 minutes. But every other video had that watermark on it. And I'm like, oh my god, guys. Like, I don't know. Pay me $200 and I'll make you something way better. So that's something to keep in mind. And as well for thumbnails, I'm thinking that these are not custom thumbnails. But you know what? We can find out because I got TubeBuddy. I'm going to click on the video. It's 2 seconds. I think we can cope. That's kind of funny. Anyways, I've got my TubeBuddy browser plugin installed. If you don't have it, there's a link in the description. Even the free version gets you most of this functionality. Wow. There is a lot going on here in the sense that there is not much going on here. So it's 2 seconds and you got captions. Okay. But yeah, no high resolution thumbnail, no info card, although it's 2 seconds. No end screen. You can't have an end screen on a video shorter than, I think, like 30 seconds, something like that. 25 seconds maybe. It hasn't been shared on Twitter. It hasn't gotten a like on Facebook. There's no comments, so you can't pin or heart a comment. And hey, I struggle with that too. Your like to dislike ratio is 1-to-1. It's been viewed 24 times. 2 of them, I think, are me today. So, I mean, I'd have to watch this with the sound on to appreciate what it is and understand it better. But, oh man. I just don't even understand what's going on here. Is this just all about advertising your Discord server? Because, like, the title doesn't tell me anything, except that maybe it's a message for Vsauce. And, I mean, hey. You know, the alternating caps thing is kind of, like, I don't know if it's just old or if it's, like, retro. But I'm gonna type in chat my one of my names that I go by, so I'm not claiming that I'm any better. But I don't know for a title of a video that doing the alternating lowercase uppercase is a very effective sort of thing. Somebody is doing some stuff with me on Instagram here. Oh, they want to send me a message. Hey, whoever you are, Alan, whoever. If you want to send me a message, do it here in chat if you're watching. Instagram will not get you priority service through the live stream. But the title doesn't tell anything. It's not very searchable. Very few characters. You want your title to be between 20 and 70 characters. Get closer to 70. I was looking again at that Little Monster Media analysis of the channels and videos that the data, the anonymized data that TubeBuddy provided them, and consistently longer titles did better. So I'm even giving thought to maybe having a cap of 70 may or may not be great. I use that partly because it's TubeBuddy's recommendation. That recommendation comes from the fact that in certain areas it'll be cut off if it's more than 70 characters. So I'm on the fence about that. But I mean, heck, you guys can probably see right now. You see in my up next, this Trevor Noah video, this Everything Wrong With, even down here the Scott the Woz video. It gets truncated. You get the ... So, everything after the ... people don't see. So, I like the idea of it all being visible, but there is the possibility that it not being complete, the ... might drive curiosity. I don't know. They might be like, how does that end? What's the end of that title, that sentence? What are you trying to say? Maybe it drives traffic. I don't know. Just something to be conscious of. But a title that short Your title is part of the things that get search engine optimized. And like up here, SEO. This video's tags appear 0 times in the title and description. That's partly because, and here's a cardinal sin, there are no tags on this video at all. So, if I were to be nice, I would say, well, you're going to want to put in as many tags, keywords, as possible for each of your videos. You have 500 characters. TubeBuddy, the free version, will give you up to 3 suggestions. The paid versions will give you much more. If you struggle coming up with tag ideas, they will. It looks at the title and the description and tries to generate what it through an algorithm what it thinks is relevant, because you want to make your tags relevant. Absolutely. If they're not relevant, you could get dinged for that as a community standards breach on YouTube. So it should be accurate, but you should be maxing those out on every video. You should have at least 400 characters worth of tags in every video. If nothing else, copy the title of your video into the description and then again into the tags. Put your channel name into the tags if you can't think of something to fill it out, just so you get some of that SEO, keyword alignment, as I call it, so that when people search your channel name, they'll get your channel instead of some random Chris Brown video. So that's a big thing. That's me being nice about it. If I were to be a prick about it, I'd be like, no tags. Are you even trying? Why are you here? And I mean, this could have been a joke video, so maybe you didn't want to put a lot of effort into it, and so I can kind of appreciate that. But every video you have out there that's visible, everything that's not a private video, you really should put all that effort into, because it could make a difference. What if this video were to blow up? I mean, it's 2 seconds, so it wouldn't get you much watch time, but views would be nice, right? If you could instantly get 100 more views on this video, you'd say yes to that, right? Who wouldn't? What if those things did that? If you're not following the best practices, you're not doing the sorry to say this, but the basic fundamental things of YouTube that, you really should be doing. So, I mean, if I were to be a prick about it, and I'm not, I'm just saying, like, someone could respond to this if you were asking for help from a different person, and they say, why are you coming to this channel review? You're not even ready to have your channel reviewed because you haven't done some of the basic things. And so just be prepared that if I'm not the only person you're asking for a review from, the criticism could be fairly harsh, just because it's like, well, you haven't put in the basic effort, so why am I spending my time? That's not what I'm saying, because I think that there could be a lot of people out there that don't know about TubeBuddy, that don't know about tags. They don't know that 500 character thing. They don't know, or they're struggling and like, oh, the title of the video, of course. I had an interesting debate in the comments section of one of my Vacation Impossible videos recently, where I was talking about, it's the video about, is Honduras safe? And in the video we talk about, my co-presenter Mike mentions, common sense. And so someone in the comments was talking about that, and they said, you have a really different take on this. And so here's my approach with common sense. I don't like the phrase common sense. It bothers me a little bit. It sounds dismissive and condescending. When someone says to me, oh, it's common sense, Ray, like, I feel 2 inches tall and want to slap them. Again, I have dreams of violence. I never commit violence. There's like daydreams. And be like, this is how I feel. Smack. But yeah, never hurt a fly. Except, well, flies, yes, but not humans. Anyways, so the common sense thing, when you're emotionally hijacked like that, when you feel like you're being condescended to, and I'm sorry if any of this is coming off as condescending itself. It's definitely not my intent. I'm trying to share information and help people. But you're emotionally hijacked, and so you're not absorbing the information. And I can't learn when I feel that way. When someone's talking down to me and insulting me. And so, like, I'll get messages. I get horrific messages on Facebook, largely as a result of the group. And they'll be like, yeah, no offense, but with only 1,500 subscribers, you can't tell people what to do. And then they might follow it up with some advice that might be constructive and helpful. But, like, okay, just saying no offense didn't make it, like, it didn't, like, scrub it of the offensiveness, And so now I'm just pissed off and I'm not listening. Or at least I'm not listening as well. Or it's a struggle to try and listen with an open mind when that kind of thing happens. And so when people label things as common sense, that bothers me for that reason. It's like, well, you should know this. But you might not have been exposed to the idea. My approach to common sense is that it's more like it's uncomplicated. It's just uncomplicated is what it is. It's information, it's advice, whatever it is, but it's uncomplicated. It's not common, I mean, maybe in the sense that a lot of people know it, but if you haven't been exposed to that particular idea, whose fault is that? It's not anyone's. It just is how your life went. Maybe you were, following and walking along your own path, and you didn't know that you could upload customized thumbnails to YouTube. You maybe just didn't encounter it. There's so much information out there. I don't blame anyone. I don't get angry when people don't do that. And so I'm happy to spend the time and say, like, hey, you know what? All you have to do is verify your email or your phone number, and you get the ability to upload your own customized thumbnail. You can make it in Photoshop, or, you know, there's free websites out there, GIMP, Canvas, whatever. I don't use it. I'm a Photoshop guy, but, you know, make it in Paint. TubeBuddy has a tool for making thumbnails. So there's a lot of different ways, but maybe people didn't realize, oh, I could do that. Okay. And so it's an uncomplicated idea because it's easy to understand, but if you haven't been exposed to that information, you just might not have heard it. And I think we need to stop crapping on people because they just haven't encountered that yet. So, you know, people message me all the time and they're like, you run this group all bad and stuff. And I know it better because I have 1 million subscribers and all this. And hey, you know, fine, I'm happy you're successful, but like, don't swing your subscriber count in my face like it gets you special treatment, because it never will. I treat people based on the quality of their ideas, not how many people just happen to have followed them. Either through hard work or luck, whatever it is. But it's, I forget where I was going with that. Emotionally hijacked. Salty, if you will. But, I remember now. So they always message me and they're like, oh, there are so many people from a particular country. And I'm like, yeah, we don't discriminate, so put your racism away, please. Or it's just like, oh, your group is full of inexperienced people. Yeah, those are the folks who might need the help. For one thing. And it's almost easier to help them because it's potentially these uncomplicated ideas that they just haven't been exposed to. And so if they get it from me, they get it from the group, then that's a good day's work. That's awesome. We've helped people. So that's fine. But the other thing is that I think a good idea can come from anywhere. Like this green screen effect of the face pretending to be Colonel Sanders, I don't know what it is. It could be hilarious. The fact that it was made with a free program doesn't mean that the idea is poor. It might be genius. It might be hilarious. This 2-second video could have me laughing forever. I don't know. And I'm kind of like that with certain things. I was in line to see the release of Star Trek First Contact, and it was around Christmas time. And this guy that I barely knew came up to me. He was a friend of a friend. And Feliz Navidad, the Christmas song, was playing, you know, while we were in the mall waiting to be let into the theater. And he comes up to me and he says, Merry Christmas, please nabbed your dad. And I heard the song, and I'm like, oh, that's so funny. I just hadn't heard it before. But to this day, without exception, every time I hear Feliz Navidad, I hear Please Snap Your Dad, and I chuckle. And so sometimes simple, short little jokes could stick with you. And like, I would have forgotten that guy because I didn't know him well at all, and I don't think I've seen him since. But because that joke resonated with me, I'm like, yeah, I remember that guy's funny. I have a positive impression of that guy because of a 2-second joke. So this could be quality content. I don't know. And I'm not gonna let the lack of a high resolution thumbnail or the fact that there's a watermark on there discriminate me against that potential. However, most people aren't like that. And that's why I talk about these things. Is the algorithm's not like that. The algorithm is going to look at this and say, well, there's no... And again, this is software. This isn't a person. Nobody's twirling a mustache and plotting your demise. For some reason with an English accent. But the algorithm's like, well, you know, he hasn't done all these things. Am I really going to take a risk on him? Am I really going to promote this video? Am I going to put it high up in search? Am I going to recommend it on other videos if he's not putting in that effort? I think that I'm anthropomorphizing this in a way that kind of like puts a psychology and a voice to it that's not accurate. It's all computer software, but that's kind of what it is. A better way of looking at it is thinking about like it's a score. If there's a secret score, and I suspect there is, I almost guarantee that there is behind the scenes, maybe several scores and super complicated math. We're all still learning about this stuff. But let's say that there was a simple score associated with a video. And let's say it's out of like 100, right? And so a high-resolution thumbnail is a +1. Info card, +1. End card, +1. Captions, +5. Shared on Twitter, +1. Comment pinned, +1. Comment hearted, +1. And so the higher that score, the higher you might appear in search. Recommended, up next. Browse. 80% of all traffic on YouTube comes from where? Browse and recommended. So that is driven by the algorithm. And so we can hate the algorithm and curse it in our sleep as much as we want, have nightmares about it and just wish we could stab it. But if we want to be successful, we got to work with it. And we got to understand that it is the best tool that they have to do a very complicated thing of managing a giant platform, the second largest search engine in the world, and somehow deliver that in a way that feels customized to each user, that keeps them on the platform, that keeps those ads rolling. That's how they make money. That's how we would make money if you're monetized, and that's something that you care about. And it's fine whether you do or don't. I'm here to help everybody. But if we work with it, if we get that secret behind-the-scenes score as high as possible, then we'll do better. These fries are definitely cold now. I think maybe I've had enough fries. I need to go on a diet. So these little technical things really add up, and it gives an impression of professionalism to, honestly, a picky, selfish audience, and those are compliments. Because, yeah, audiences are fickle. People say they're not loyal. Nobody owes you loyalty. But we, like, the biggest commodity that is in short supply, admittedly, first world problem. I acknowledge my privilege here. But, that having been said, is time. Time is a precious, precious, precious commodity. I think I was saying to somebody the other day, I was like, you know what? If I had an unlimited amount of time, I would be a millionaire and it wouldn't even be hard. But there's not enough hours in the day. There's not enough minutes in the day. And so people have to make snap decisions on how to use and spend and enjoy their time. And so we have to be picky. Picky means we have standards and a sense of what we want, a knowledge of self, and an ability to control our environment to some degree. And so, like, I'm not fond of being exposed to horrific news stories that I can do nothing about. If somebody was horrifically murdered in some other country due to a personal conflict between two people and it's just incredibly gruesome, me knowing that adds nothing to my life. Now, if there's a law that would prevent it that I could support, or if it was somebody who had an accident because they didn't know about a safety feature of a car or something like that, then that's informative and okay, fair enough. Maybe I could advocate for safety or vote a certain way, donate to something, adjust my patterns of behavior in some way. That's all fine. But if it's just a gruesome, depressing, upsetting story, that's not what I want to spend my time on. I'd rather spend it with you lovely people, trying to help you do better at YouTube, right? And so people are these decision-making in a lightning first impression thing. And I did customer service training. I trained people in customer service for 8 years. And in that training, I had access to this data that had been done about communication and complaints and all sorts of interesting stuff. The big thing is, and I'm curious, chat, what percentage of first impressions are accurate? What do you think the number is? I've seen the data. I know the answer, but I'm curious what you would guess. So you get a first impression about a person, a thing, judging a book by its cover, whatever you think. What percentage of the time do you think that first impression is correct? I'm going to take a moment while you answer. I think we got a little bit of lag. But that's fine. I'm just assuming everyone's going to answer. I'll just give you the answer. So the answer is 55%. 46 said clever to swear. That's really close. It's actually 55%. So the magic number is 55% on first impressions, which means that as people, make these first impressions. I wish I had a coin right now for a prop, but I don't. I don't carry coin money very much at all. Anyways, the idea is that it's slightly better than a coin toss. So we do better than 50%. We do 55%, and part of that is because we do have some information. We're not going in completely blind. Okay, I look at the guy and he's tall. Maybe he's muscular or something, and so maybe my assumption will be like, okay, this is a guy who is taller than me. I'm 5'10", so I was like, he's taller than 5'10". He looks like he works out, and so maybe the information is going to be, maybe it is a guy, or maybe it's currently a guy, and yes, of course, maybe taller than me. Maybe he's wearing lifts. Maybe he's on a platform. Maybe he doesn't work out at all. Maybe he just works on a farm or something that's very physical in a warehouse or whatever, and so he has, some strong upper body strength. But I'm basing it on some information. It's better than if someone had asked, hey, there's a person you've never met. Is he tall? A little better than that. So humans are just making the best they can do with their short time on this earth, and so that's part of what that's all about. Let me adjust my camera here. Wasn't loving that angle. And so anyways, maybe a little brighter? I don't know. And so why am I talking about first impressions? Because thumbnails are first impressions. And that can be, it's a great opportunity. It's also kind of stressful a little bit. There's some pressure there because you want to get it right. Click-through rate is a metric that over the last year, YouTube has cared a lot more about than it ever has in the past. Now in Studio Beta, you get some click-through rate information. What I wish was out there, and somebody, if you know of a tool that has this, let me know. I would love to be able to sort my videos by click-through rate. I would love to see what has... I think actually you can, but you can't do it for all of them. I want to, like, because it's only like the top 50 that'll display in Studio Beta, and you can't invert it to show you the worst. I want to see my worst click-through rates, because then I know where I need to make changes, where I can experiment, what I need to work on. That would be great. So... that's true. Your 2-second video turned into a philosophy lecture, first impression, time, and life in general. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I did improv comedy for 4 years, and so I'm used to getting like one word from the audience and making a whole scene out of it. So I just need a prompt, and I will go for hours. Hopefully it's useful and valuable, or at the very least a little entertaining, or you can point and laugh at the funny bald guy. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, so like your thumbnails are important first impressions. Sometimes they're 8th impressions. Like I've been watching a lot of Scott the Woz recently. He appeared on Cinemassacre and he impressed me in that video, so I went and checked out his channel. I've actually been enjoying it. Longer videos, so it's a commitment of time. We can sit down to a 32, 61, 20-minute video. But like he's got this this outline around his thumbnails that he uses fairly consistently. So in this list of suggested videos, I can spot the Scott the Woz video quick. And that's pretty smart. Toby Creation is a channel that is in the Small YouTubers Boost group. He does something very similar. He has a bunch of blue ones and I think some purple ones. I've tried outlines around my travel tip videos that are gold. And so sometimes it's about brand recognition, but within that, it's really about making that first impression and making that as interesting or as positive as possible. And that's very important. And so high resolution thumbnail is a great opportunity for that. So this description here is just talking about a server. So I don't know that it's talking about the video. And that I think is part of why that video is struggling. So I'm going to go back to the channel now and take a look at what's what. But I mean, the green screen effect's not bad. I've only done a green screen effect once in my life and it didn't look that great. Partly because my travel channel, I don't want to do too many effects or things like that because I want it to all be shot on location and real life. I don't want people thinking that they're looking at me in front of a backdrop and I'm saying I'm in Mexico, but I'm not. I don't, like, to me, that realism, that authenticity, that sincerity is incredibly important. And I think if you introduce doubt into that, then you damage the trust and relationship with the audience. That's just my perspective on my travel channel. A comedy channel doesn't have that issue at all. I love college humor, and, you know, there was a video where it looked like Grant was like really legitimately upset. It was their video series about paying off his college debt, and it like made me really uncomfortable. And I'm kind of worried about Grant, but was it real, like authentic, or was it kind of played? I don't know. I hope he's okay. He's been in videos since then. He seems fine, but at the time it was upsetting and difficult to watch. So let's see here. The real AU. It's been too long. Stuff they don't want you to know. That's interesting. So, let's talk about this one for a second. Okay, and it looks like there's a video series. That is an intriguing title. Stuff they don't want you to know. One thing that I would do is capitalize the playlist consistently. The U and the word no should be capitalized, just to make it look a little bit more professional. And if it is actually about stuff that, you know, the powers that be don't want you to know, that's cool. The real IO, it's been too long, does not seem to tie into that thumbnail at all. Now, I don't know. I haven't watched the video. Couldn't tell you. But this makes me think of a lot of those YouTubers who are like, oh, I didn't put out a video for 3 weeks, so I need to make an apology video, or I need to acknowledge it, or I need to, you know, in my very next video. And when you're sitting, and I mean, I don't want to shame someone based on their numbers, because like I said, good ideas and good quality content can come from anywhere. But when you have 36 subscribers, if you haven't published in a while, I wouldn't bother talking about it. You got to think about not just your existing audience, which frankly on YouTube matters less and less as notifications are not clearly being displayed. And they got to be notification squad, not just subscribed if they want to find out about your videos. Branded coffee mug. Gotta plug the channel. But because of that, you really need to keep the casual viewer in mind. And the casual viewer is going to see that, and if I'm making an assumption here, as people do, it's normal for us to do, that's how we get through life. I'm making an assumption that this video is at least in part about the fact that they haven't published in a while. I'm guessing. Or they haven't published that kind of video in a while. Or even just forgetting this one. Talk about people who do that generally. Your first impression is that, oh, hi, I'm inconsistent and I screw up and I need to apologize for that. And it's like, wow, that is hard to like. I mean, if I identify with you and I feel sympathy and stuff, then okay, maybe. But it's like you're not putting your strongest foot forward with that. And so it's funny because I see it smaller channels, and I'm sure bigger channels do this too. Maybe some with built-in audiences and stuff like that. But I just don't think it's a great use of your time. It's great that you want to be upfront and honest and own your mistakes. I don't think that makes for entertaining television. So it is a bit of a personal thing, potentially. You might get, killed in the comments. You could always put that as part of your description, potentially. Not at the top of the description, though. Lead with a value proposition. I hate to use business speak on you, but, I mean, if you want to be successful at YouTube, there are businesses that are competing in your space, no matter what you're doing. Anyone who gets big enough, they end up, forming an LLC or an LTD or some other thing, and, it becomes sort of businessified. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. And so what is the value? And this is a question for everyone in chat. I want to know, what value do you bring to your audience? What do they get out of watching your videos? Do they gain knowledge? Do they get entertainment? I think everyone would hope and think that, so that's actually a pretty general one. How niche can you get? How much can you niche that down to say what value do people get out of watching your channel? Vacation Impossible. I try to inspire people to travel, show them places they might not have known about, and save them money at the same time. That's my value proposition in 3 bullet points right there. On this channel, I try to help people do better at YouTube. I try to show them the little technical things that might be holding them back. I try to give them inspiration and answer their questions. Maybe give them a little exposure. That was like 4 bullet points right there. That's the value proposition. And on this channel, I need to do a better job of communicating that. But I've been working at Vacation Impossible for a while, and so I'm getting it to, I think, a reasonably polished point. If you watch my channel trailer over on Vacation Impossible, I think I'm rather proud of that, actually. I think it gets that message across pretty succinctly. And so what's your value proposition? And now think, hopefully in chat, I'll take a little look. Have you typed in, what value does your channel give? Knowledge for me, some entertainment, but mainly knowledge. That's good. I make them bored to death. You know what? There are podcasts that are designed specifically to help people get to sleep. So, there could be a niche for that. But I think that's more of a podcast thing than a video thing, because video, you got the screen and stuff. Maybe an ASMR, meditation, maybe, kind of like that. Like, there's a positive spin you can put on a lot of these things. Like, I bore them to death. Maybe you've got a monotonous, calming voice. Use it. It's a superpower. It's not necessarily a problem. Where's the benefit? Who can that help? A lot of ways of looking at it. So what's the value? You're so Colin Mockery. Wow. That's cool. That's a huge compliment. It's funny. I really like Colin Mockery on Whose Line, and he does occasionally come and perform at improv here in Vancouver where I live, and so I've seen him there a couple of times. And honestly, live, I'm like, where's Colin Mockery? For some reason, he doesn't feel like he brings his A game when I see him live. But on TV, he's amazing. But anyways, even if I'm like a tenth of how he is live, like, that's a huge compliment. So thank you. I'm not crapping on that compliment anyway. I accept it, and it's very nice of you to say. So, but anyways, that value proposition. Think about what the value is. Do you make them laugh? Do you make them feel something? What do you make them feel? Do they learn something? Do they feel like they're part of a community? And now thinking about that, hold that in your mind. Hold that thought in your mind. What's the value to people? Now, how do I express that in a thumbnail? How do I express that in a banner, a profile picture, a title, a description, a tag? How would I put that in 3 words, 5 words, 10 words, 1 word? What does that evoke from as an image? And now think about, like, could you incorporate that into a video that you recorded but not edited yet? Or some of the graphic aesthetics or the description of your channel? How can you do that? So that you can show people as quickly as possible in that 3-second, 10-second first impression, oh, this will save me money. Oh, this is going to be funny. How can you do that and express that as quickly as possible and hook them in and then hopefully keep them forever? That would be nice. But that's, you know, we talk about value propositions and things like that. And you think business speak, people in suits in a boardroom, and you're like, oh, God. And I get that. Believe me, I get that. But the reason that places that make tons of money and stuff think along those terms is because that can lead to things like a marketing strategy. And say what you will about marketing strategies, they're effective often. If it's done right, if it evokes an emotion, if it speaks to a value, either a value proposition or a value you have, like helping people is a good thing to do with your time, values of that kind of value, these sorts of things. If people believe what you believe, then they're more likely to support you in the way that you would like to see, I think. And just saying, please support me doesn't get that done on its own. There needs to be some value, either something like an ethical thing that you believe in, or a tangible good that they get out of it. I watch Cinemassacre because it entertains me. You know, I watch Roberto Blake because he educates me, motivates me, and inspires me. What would you want people to say about your channel, about why they watch your channel? You know, they might get drawn in because you're pretty, or you're handsome, or you were curious. But what holds them, I think, has to be a little bit meatier than that. And so what is that? And how can you communicate that as quickly as possible? Literally have no idea how to make a thumbnail evoke an emotion. That is hard. That is hard. I don't know that I know myself. You know, I see examples of it happening. And, you know, a lot of it, I think some of the easiest ways is with a face. You know, people say, oh, there should always be emojis in your thumbnails. And I'm like, ugh, emojis are everywhere. It's not going to stand out. That's my personal opinion. Maybe it works for some people. But a face, that does. Like, again, I'm going on a tangent here, but let's talk about Star Trek for a second. I'm a giant Star Trek nerd. And one of the reasons I think that Star Trek has always been successful, it was a rule that its creator, Gene Roddenberry, had about its actors, its aliens, and its makeup. Okay? Trust me, this is going to be relevant. His rule was, no matter how different you make the alien look, you have to see their eyes. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul. There's a cliche for you. Enjoy that. But a good actor, a good presenter, a good performer can convey so much sometimes with just the eyes. That's where a lot of the emotion can actually just come out. And so that's something to think about. If you're in a video, being expressive, being vulnerable, sharing how you really feel. You know, I'm working off no script here. You know, I'm just telling you what I'm thinking about, and it's kind of random, and I get that, but it's sincere, and you know, I'm not trying to rein it in. I'm not trying to be like, okay, don't talk with your hands. I'm going to be like, I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to convey that as freely and openly as I can. And so then if I'm going back over the video and I'm trying to maybe grab a freeze frame for, you know, a thumbnail, I could go like, oh, one idea. There's a thumbnail. Or, you know, do one of these, you know, stuff like that. You want to express it, right? And you want them to be able to read your face, the picture that tells 1,000 words. So, one of the things that I recommend that actually came up recently, I tried something new in the group where I was trying to link content creators to specific resources. So the idea was, ask a specific question, I will try to answer it myself, and then I will link you to a resource that might answer it better. And somebody was like, "You rock," and I'm like, "Oh, that's not a question, but I can work with it." Here's me singing along Spice Girls. I'm like, yeah, you know, watch my video. But actually, the YouTube thing that I tried to tie into that, and I think this is actually useful advice, is before you hit record, is make sure that you're at a decent energy level. Warm yourself up. Do a vocal exercise. Sing along to your favorite song. Some song that motivates you. I like Dare by Stan Bush from the animated Transformers movie. That gets me pumped. There's a lot of videos, or a lot of music that, you know, gets me pumped. So I'll listen to it and I'll intentionally sing along, and then I will start the live stream. Then I will hit record, and because I'm loose, I'm expressive, because songs normally have emotion, and so I'm feeling my emotions and I'm letting them out. And so then my video starts off with me already at a decent energy level. I mean, you could be at an 11 and just be crazy, or you could be at like a 7 or a 10 or something, but then you're expressive. And I've seen some videos where people start off, and some of my early videos were like this, where I would start talking calmly about a subject, and then as I kind of got into it, more excited, and I become more expressive. And so that's one idea. One thing you can do is do that. So getting back to the channel review, I would consider moving the stuff they don't want to know up a little bit, but maybe not until there's one more video. I just want to see what kind of playlist we got here. Music topic. Okay. So this is a very early channel. I think it has a ways to go. So I was, I've given some advice, and I would also suggest just trying to get out more content, I think. And as you get more content out there, then you'll be in a better place where you'll be able to kind of take it to a next level. I think that one of the things that Roberto Blake talks about, and I think he's on the right track with this, is that you can't really start judging your channel until you put out like 100 videos. I mean, unless you're making, super highly produced things, generally speaking, you want to have some experience, and you want to have a library, a catalog of videos behind you, so that you can get some good data in the analytics. Maybe you've grown an audience, you can see what works, what doesn't, what gets comments, what gets thumbs up, thumbs down, things like that. And then you can start taking a real self-critical eye about the channel and see like, oh, here's my strengths, here's my popular videos, here's my weaker ones, and things like that. But almost for like those first 100, to a degree, you almost don't want to be too self-critical. One of the common things that's a popular thing to say in the creator community these days is your first video is going to be trash. Your first podcast is going to be bad. Your first and that may or may not be true. Some people have a natural talent or skills and experiences from other areas they bring into it, and it's actually pretty good the first time. But you need to let yourself off the hook. Don't put that pressure on yourself that the first video has to get 1 million views and it has to look picture perfect and all that kind of stuff. Get some momentum and engage with your audience. Your audience is going to give you some valuable feedback. I was talking about the data that I had access to when I used to do customer service training. One of the things that they say is that, what was it? It's only like 5% of the people who are upset with a business will complain. And believe me, when you're working in the complaint department, it doesn't feel like no 5%, but it's an interesting number to keep in mind. So when someone takes the time to provide you some feedback, positive, negative, neutral, whatever, in the comments, you should potentially, as long as they're not just being a troll, if there's something concrete that you can work with there, you should consider that there's probably like 19 other people who have a similar thought but aren't vocalizing it. And so when somebody gives you feedback, it's a good reminder to be appreciative of it, because they're giving you like free market research when they do that. Again, as long as they're not being like jerky trolls about the whole thing. And so that's something to consider as well, that there could be a lot more people with similar feelings, which may or may not give it relevance. Speaking of constructive criticism, I just want to go on my little constructive criticism rant here because I'm out to change the world on this one. One live stream viewer at a time. What makes good constructive criticism? I believe there are 3 components. Otherwise, you're just crapping on somebody. So one, it has to be specific. If I tell you your banner sucks, that is not super specific. It's about the banner, but I'm not really specific. If I said something like, the icons on your banner aren't good, that's more specific. Okay, now I know it's the icons I need to address. Cool. We're still not quite there yet. Step 2, the second component of constructive criticism, is it has to be prescriptive. It has to have an idea of somewhere to go. So, hey, that blue icon on your banner might look a lot better if it was red. Might be something you could suggest. Okay, now it's specific and it gives me something I can do to make it better, a direction to go in. Awesome. The third piece, the bonus piece of constructive criticism, is it has to be given without expectation. So if I tell you, hey, that icon on your banner would look better if it's red, I come back in 2 weeks and it's still blue, and I give you crap for that, then I have an expectation that, you don't have to do what I say. And so for me, and I try to do this here, and if I'm not, please call me out on it, is I try to be specific, prescriptive, and with no expectation that you're going to do it. So that's just my little thing. I'm out to tell the world about my crazy theory. Take it or leave it. Spread the word. All right, who else do we have in chat? Let's see what else we got here. Stupid Robot Fighting League was around. I've looked at his channel a few times, so I don't know that I can be that helpful there. Shadow Reaper wanted me to look at his channel. GSBA Shadows. But I've changed my channel a lot. I have to wait 90 days to change the name, so just ignore the channel name I have now. Okay, well, I'll give this a go. I will try. We'll see what comes up. I've looked at this channel before. It was a while ago. It was one of the early ones I think I did. Are you Shadow Reaper? Is that correct? Is that your new name? Have I found the correct channel? And do I have your consent and permission to look at your channel in this live stream? Your images may appear in the thumbnail. Oh, well, actually, no. The message came from a guy named Shadow Reaper, so this is clearly him. All right. Okay, Ray. Think it through. So, Slasher Media. It's a little hard to read, the font. Just want to try and see how it looks in... Yeah, it's impossible to read in chat at that resolution. Yeah, you said yes. Sweet. Now I won't get sued. I don't think I'd actually get sued. People throw that thread around a lot and they don't mean it. It's a waste of everybody's time. Anyways, so the font's a little hard to read just because it's kind of small. You could make the text bigger because you've got it's a good contrast against the background. It's just small, so I would increase the font size, and it might make it such that Slasher goes all the way across and maybe Media goes all the way across, depending on what Slasher Media is all about. I don't know. I'm guessing it's horror. And so if it is horror, you want Slasher to probably be the same size or larger than the word media. So that's something to consider. So you probably want to increase the font size such that Slasher goes from side to side. And then have media at the same font size as that, but not any larger. Possibly slightly smaller, so that it focuses a little bit more. Just a thought, so it's more legible. The thing is, the background that it's on... at first glance, evokes me a basketball or a beach volleyball. Even though there's no coloring on it, it looks somewhat like that. Thinking further, maybe it's kind of like an egg, but it's like an ovoid inside of a circle. So I'm not really... that doesn't tell me much. It provides good contrast for the text, but it doesn't convey huge information. But Slasher does. If you are a horror thing... if the background instead was like a jagged tear, something like it's been ripped by a jagged knife or something like that, like that kind of a thing, like a ripped shirt, maybe it's a Harlequin romance review channel, I don't know, what they call it, a bodice ripper, I think. Or what was that old term? They call it shipping now, but it used to be called slash, where it was like people wrote fan fiction about two unlikely characters being in a relationship from like popular media. I never got into that stuff, but as a Star Trek fan, I was like, I had to know what it was so that I would not click on those links when I saw them in the early days of the internet in like 1998 when I ran a GeoCities webpage. I'm old school. So anyways, but from a visual evocative standpoint, I think that might be an idea. Bloody knife, something like that. Could convey if it is horror. And Shadow Reaper is a cool name. Now, I didn't search Shadow Reaper. I searched your old channel name. I'm curious what would come up if I search Shadow Reaper. Just because I want to know, like, is there a lot of competition? Helps if I can type. Okay, no, you come... Ooh, wait, no, hold on. That's a different channel. So there is another channel called Shadow Reaper. 227 subscribers. You had 242, so you're neck and neck. With some tricks, you could... The expression I use is you could take them down. But really, I mean, that's not what you're doing. You're competing against them. You could kind of own the term. I think you could. I am a gaming reaper who hides in the shadows, so subscribe to my page for awesome content. We can do better than that. You've already got nearly 20 subscribers on this person, but let's lock this thing in. Okay, Shadow Reaper. Hi to all you slashers out there. This channel is Slasher Media. On this channel, we do horror podcasts and podcasts on other things, ... So we can do a little better. It's good. You're off to a good start, but I think we can narrow this down a little bit. For example, the word channel appears twice. This is not 1998 with GeoCities. Repetition of a keyword in the same field does not boost it. Also, channel is a crappy keyword. I don't think you're trying to use it as a keyword here. This is like a conversational, a rhetorical crutch maybe, or just the way that it was crafted. But I would say something like, hi, slashers. Slasher Media is all about horror podcasts, and then you can go from there. And so you've gotten those keywords and the point across much more quickly, so they don't read as far, because again, we make these first impressions lightning decisions. So there's that. Actually, I was curious about when I searched for Shadow Reaper. Yeah, it gave it a 15 on the search terms. Okay. Anyways, so you get to the point earlier, and then you can start talking a little bit more specifically. Are you a Wes Craven fan? How do you feel about the Scream movies? Do you think that they're parody, or are they actual horror movies themselves? I don't know. What's your favorite horror movie? What's your favorite scary movie? I can't do that voice. I can't do Ghostface. Anyways, let's go in here. We got channel trailer. That's prototype channel trailer. That's kind of interesting. It's 3.25 minutes long, which is generally on the longer side for a channel trailer. I would have to watch it to see if it holds my interest. Maybe a longer channel trailer could work. But traditionally, we're looking at probably the 90-second cap is normally a good idea to try and get your point. Hey, you do cover Scream. That's awesome. Yeah, because, I mean, you would think that would be money in the bank. So your banner is pretty good. This is easy to read, this banner. Hopefully, I've assumed you've checked it on a multitude of devices, assuming it doesn't crop it in a bad way on mobile, which it shouldn't. I think you're probably okay there. And it pops fairly well. A couple little things, a nitpick. There's more space above slasher than there is under media, the way it displays on my desktop. So I would consider moving the word media up just a little bit so that it's a similar framing. But it's easy to read. It pops, good contrast, so that's all fine. The white background is almost, for me, a little too minimalist. However, it's worth noting that I am on dark mode on YouTube. So this might look a little bit more organic on the regular setting of YouTube. People might not notice the thing that I'm noticing. So feel free to take my thoughts with a grain of salt. You've got some channels you're linking to there, which is good. So you got your uploads, Myers video, MediaCast podcast, created playlist. Let's just take a look at your playlists here, just because none of the ones you have right now are filling out the lines. Okay, so there's very few videos here, which is fine. As you create more videos, then this will flush out more, so that's fine. For an early channel, this is good. Or I guess, I mean, it's probably like a rebranded channel, because I know it used to be a gaming channel, if I remember correctly, from previous times. No social links. So, you talked about a podcast. I have to ask, do you do a podcast? And if you do a podcast, is there an audio-only version? Because if they're not, I mean, I'm picky about words having specific meanings. I would suggest that it's not a podcast if there's not an audio-only version. But if there is, if you're hosting it on Podbean or wherever, then some links to that podcast might be appropriate here. You could drive some traffic to the podcast. If you're interested in making money, podcast sponsorship is an opportunity. So helping to drive traffic to a podcast, an audio-only podcast, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I do a little bit of that. I've only had one episode sponsored, but that's something. And I'm not really in it for the money. They will absolutely take the money, but that's not why I do it. I do it to try and inspire people to travel more and differently and save money. But that's a thought. But it's interesting because I do see a lot of people say that they do a podcast and all it is an interview show because there's no audio-only version. And that confuses me. Also because calling it a podcast, some people are ravenous consumers of podcasts. And I saw a study, it's about 1.5 years ago now, but in Canada, for example, where I am, there was apparently a big unfulfilled desire for more Canadian produced podcasts, Canadian content. And so I was like, oh, do tell. yes. Let's hype up the fact that my podcast is Canadian. It didn't really go anywhere, but it was worth a shot. And so if you are doing an interview show and doing it as video, have you considered exporting it as an MP3 and also having a parallel podcast? Podcast hosting will run you about $100 US a month with somebody like Podbean or most of the competitors. There's some free alternatives out there, but the functionality could be a bit more limited. When you try to get yourself listed on like, a Spotify, it's kind of hard if you're not with one of the sort of the paid professional services. But I mean, there are free options out there. And here's an interesting thing. I forget the numbers, but I think it's something like 70% of all podcasts are just dead. And that's because people stopped producing them. So that's an interesting thought. That means that just staying in the game, just continuing to show up, you beat 70% of your would-be competition in the podcast space. So I think that YouTube, it's more people are drawn to it. It's more clearly, especially because it's in the news. Oh, PewDiePie's a millionaire, all this kind of stuff. There's, what's her name, Janelle, the van life girl, blowing up. That kind of stuff gets a lot of media attention. And podcasts are a little bit under the radar from media reporting about, people although a lot of the media have their own podcasts. Your local news probably has a podcast, potentially. But there's for one thing, there's very loyal audiences there. And in some spaces, they are really underserved, such as Canadian podcasters, for example. And so it could be a less competitive space that for very little additional marginal work, you could have parallel streams and be maybe you grow the podcast audience that pushes over to YouTube at the end of your podcast show. And you'd be like, don't forget, you can see clips of this podcast on our YouTube channel. I do that with Vacation Impossible. And so what I do is I record the audio podcast with a focus on audio, but I do video record the whole thing, and then I take topics and make those individual videos that I put up on my channel, and some of those have done exceptionally well. That's I kind of stole that approach. I was inspired in that approach by Pat Contry. He's in a completely different space, retro gaming and wrestling and things. But I liked that idea, and so I've found some small measure of success using a similar approach. But because if you are running a podcast that, and this isn't you specifically, I'm talking about anyone who is doing what they're calling a podcast but has no audio-only version, it wouldn't be a lot of extra work to add the audio-only version. And if somebody searches and watches a podcast, they're like, hey, I'd love to listen to this podcast. I could listen to this in my car. That'd be great. I'm going to subscribe to that podcast on iTunes. Where the hell is it? This isn't a podcast. I imagine that experience happens. I haven't had that experience myself much. I've been a guest on podcasts, and it's been an interesting experience. I really enjoy it. I love being on podcasts. It's a lot of fun. Or interview shows. That's great too. But it's funny because one time a guy approached me and says, hey, would you like to be on the podcast? And I was like, okay, we looked at our schedules, and I'm like, oh, I can totally do it. This is going to be great. And so we're getting set up, and we connect to the call and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, and he looks off screen. We're like 20 minutes into the podcast, right? He looks off screen and goes, okay, we got a question from one of our viewers. And he wanted to get in touch back on something that Ray just said. And I'm like, what the hell? Are we live? And he's like, yeah, we're live. And I'm like, I thought it was a podcast. Okay. And earlier in the interview, at one point, he'd asked me a question, and I started answering it, and I got tongue-tied, and I tripped all over myself. And so I was like, sorry, I'll start over. And then I started answering the question again. I thought because he would edit out my screw-up, I didn't realize we were live. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then he was just like, yeah, and somebody said that Ray looks like a smart guy. And I'm like, wait a minute, they can see me? He's like, yeah, we're live on Twitch. I'm like, we're on Twitch? Okay, that's cool. I mean, I still had fun, but this guy was calling a podcast, but it was an interview live stream on Twitch. And so as a guest, I felt a little misled. I mean, not intentionally, and I wasn't upset, and I don't regret it. It was a fine time and everything. But if you were watching that interview, there were at least a couple of times where Ray was just totally like, wait, what? Oh, I need to completely adjust what's going on. For one thing, I didn't realize people would see me, so like, okay, you're actually going to use the video. I thought this was just to help us, because it happened to be on Skype or something. So it's interesting the term podcast gets thrown around, but it could be a great opportunity if you have an interview show, if you're doing something where, an audio podcast could be parallel stream. Maybe you'll grow faster on the podcast. Maybe the other, I don't know. Maybe bet on both horses. But I don't know that I have much more useful feedback here at this time. Let's see what's going on with chat. I've covered a lot of unusual ground today. Hey, Frank. Sorry for the bait and switch on my Facebook thing. I thought I was going to lose my time for this live stream, and then I ended up getting it back. So here we are. I want more suggestions on thumbnails. Okay. Hopefully we'll get to you. I go chronologically from chat. Podcasts are not scripted. They don't have ads and radios. Scripted podcasts. These are generally thoughts of people talking at radio isn't. Well, I don't think that's a scripted podcast. That's an interesting concept to me. I would call that almost more like an audio drama at that point, if it's scripted. Now, you can have topics, and I love the Completely Unnecessary podcast, Pat Contry and Ian Ferguson. Huge fan of theirs. I drive down to Portland every October just to see them at Portland Retro Gaming Expo. I am what you would call a true fan of those guys. I love their podcast. And so I know from having listened to it and met them and talked to them, very nice guys, very, very nice guys, that they have topics in advance, and sometimes they have a little bit of a scripted thing for the introduction of the topic, but the actual conversation is just organic. It's live to tape. They do a little light editing afterwards. Thank God they do more editing now, because before, Pat used to have this water bottle, and you just hear him turning it and sucking the water every time. I'm like, oh my God, just edit that out. And now they do, thank God, because it was like, oh my God. But that's a light edit. Some people do live to tape where they just record the audio and then upload it. But the idea of a scripted podcast, that's an interesting thought. I think Andrew Matthews, who I really enjoy, he's like a self-help guru. He had a podcast for a bit, talk about an abandoned podcast. I wish he would bring it back. He would do little 15-minute snippets. And so I'm not sure if that was fully scripted or... because he's a public speaker, he's probably got his pattern of storytelling down. But the idea of a fully scripted podcast, I think that's rarer than people think. I don't know. I'm not really sure. Because, yeah, maybe a lot of those news ones, they could be just reading copy. That's interesting. There's a podcast I follow where a guy pretends to call in to himself as different characters and weirdness ensues. It's called a podcast, so that term gets thrown around a whole lot. That sounds fun. That sounds funny. That'd be interesting. But yeah, it's like the term podcast has gotten a little watered down. Pauline T, are you still here? Do you have a question or a request that maybe I could address for you? You're sort of the next person in chat, other than of course Achilles and Stupid Robot Fighting League, who I've looked at several times. Just saw the post about the live. Yeah, that's one of the curses of these lives, is that I post it and then I go for a bit. And sometimes by the time somebody sees it, because of time zones or just being busy, it's too late. So I'm glad you're able to join us here for the actual live thing. The Facebook group, again, facebook.com/group/smallYouTubersBoost, is, I think I've got a link on this feed. It should be above the chat. Yeah, it's up there. Okay. We are currently at 90,500 members, and I am about to go on a 16-day road trip starting on Friday. So I think sometime, I'm not sure when, maybe end of August, September, October, sometime in the next few months, the group is likely to hit 100,000 members. And I have an idea. People have been saying, like, hey, when you hit 100,000, what are you going to do? Are you going to do something cool? People are like, oh, pizza. And I'm like, how do you have pizza on the internet? I could mukbang it. Maybe, John. Don't mean to tease. But I actually have an idea about what I think I would like to do when the group hits 100,000. And I would love to do an epic live stream. So here's my idea. This is not a promise because I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it. Life gets in the way. But what I'd love to do is like an 8-hour live stream. Go marathon this thing. Not like Mario Marathon, but like marathon. And so like you'd end up watching me eat 2 or 3 meals. I'd have to take bathroom breaks where I'd throw up a thing. But I think it would be awesome to have like an 8-hour epic live stream where everyone, not everyone, but anyone who's like kind of awake and interested during that 8 hours would have an opportunity to get in on it. I think that would be a blast. I'll be honest, my channel banner and profile pic wasn't well thought out, but I just wanted to get a video uploaded, but not sure how to make it represent my channel better. You know what? You are taking the completely right approach, though. I give you credit, Clever to Swear. It's, that's it. That's get it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. And if you're just constantly working on something and not getting it out until it gets perfect, then that's an opportunity that's time that's being wasted that you could be learning. And so it's okay to have something not perfect up and change it later and upgrade it later. I had my old logo before Wayne from the group helped me redesign it for my new one for Vacation Impossible. And every now and then I'll see the old one pop up, like in my what is it, my YT Studio, the YouTube Studio app. It still shows my old icon, and I still have it on a couple of thumbnails. And when I see it now, I'm like, oh yeah, I used to think that was good. Gotta update that. But the fact is, it was the completely right thing to do, I think, because it's, having something better than nothing and going through the learning process and seeing how it plays and getting people's reactions. So, yeah, I think that's right. Get it out there. Creates, as Roberto Blake says, create something awesome today. And, refine it later. So I think that's a good approach that you're taking there. I'm not seeing Pauline's response, and because of that fellow's complaint a couple months ago, I don't want to look at channels without consent. Who else do we have here? Ivan Calmetta. Ivan Calmetta, are you still around? And if so, what would you like to see? Would you like a channel review? Do you want me to look at the SEO on a video? Do you have a question, a tutorial? You want to see how to do something in TubeBuddy? I could tell you, I'm testing out another product right now, actually. I've been contacted by the people at something called viralstat.com, and I'm testing out their product, and so far it's interesting. It's got some usefulness to it. It works, which is better than some of the people that have tried to contact me for an endorsement over the years. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how it would be good for our group and how we can tie its functionality into specific actionable things, because right now it's just really sort of like a research your competition, research potential collabs. But I'm trying to see if I can find better value there, and so I'm working with them possibly to establish a discount code, which would be nice. And there's another product that I've been asked to look into that I'm reviewing sometime over the next month or two, that is a noise cancellation thing that works live in like Skype and those sorts of things. So it's not for after you record like podcast audio. Like I would use Audacity to do noise reduction. This is live in real time. So talking about those interview shows, those podcast shows that do interviews online, the idea is with a couple of clicks, you can just remove all ambient noise. If your fridge is making noise, if you're at a coffee shop, if a dog is barking. And that dog barking thing is an important example because I do some voiceover recording here at home, but like my neighbors make noise, you know, the garbage truck goes by, the recycling, some guy mows his lawn, and it's incredibly frustrating. If I could, in a few clicks, just remove... Like, I can remove a constant noise if there's a hum. The noise reduction in Audacity is great for that. But if it's an intermittent noise, that it doesn't work at all. Because in Audacity, what you do is... and here's a nice little tip. If you're recording audio, you record nothing for, like, 3 seconds. And then you do the rest of your video. One of the tricks is you clap 3 times if you're syncing video to audio so you can line them up in editing. But whether or not you do that, then what you do in Audacity is you highlight that section, you go Effects, Noise Reduction, Get Noise Profile. And so what it does is for that 3 seconds of would-be silence, it basically captures all the noise. Then you Control-A, select the whole thing, Effect, Noise Cancellation, and then you do the noise reduction. And so what it does is it takes that sample and removes that noise from the entire rest of the audio, which is awesome. And then, you know, you cut out the silent bit, you edit it, whatever, but you've got this cleaner, crisper audio. But the problem is you need it to be a consistent sound. That you know, refrigerator humming, the, you know, whatever, the air conditioner that's making a consistent noise that you can then remove. But if it's intermittent, like a dog barking or sirens go off, but only for a moment, that doesn't work for that. I put a sock over my microphone because I have no pop filter. That's cool. I have a pop filter right now, so I'm not sure if it sounds like I have it. But I got my pop filter was like $10 off Amazon, and I've attached it to, I'm using a Snowball Ice Blue microphone at this time. It's also what I use for my podcast. I highly recommend this because as travel guy for my travel podcast, I created sort of a rule of the podcast to try and make it unique and distinctive. And one of the rules is we have to record on location. So we almost never record in my house because I'm not on vacation. If somebody travels to visit us, then we would, because it's their vacation to be here. It's kind of a cheat. But like I record on cruise ships where there's, you know, noise, because the engines are going, the waves and stuff like that. I record in hotel rooms. I'm toying with the idea of maybe one day trying a rest stop to be like, wow, let's see how this noise reduction really works. But yeah, so the noise reduction tool, if it works as advertised, would be amazing, but I need to test it out. I'm not going to recommend anything that I don't believe in, that I haven't tested myself, that I can't put my name next to and say works. But if it does, look forward to it in our group, facebook.com/group/small YouTubers boost, except no substitutes. And so you notice in the group, you know, it's sponsored by TubeBuddy because I legitimately tested the hell out of it and believe it. And TubeBuddy ain't perfect. I'm gonna tell you when things ain't perfect. Even if it's a product I believe in. Even if I have a deal with them to get us 20% off the product if you get the paid version, check the announcements in the Facebook group to get that promo code. But even though I have that deal with them, even though I've got an affiliate link, I'm going to tell you the truth. And hey, the truth is this should be loading. What's going on here? This wasn't the truth I was looking to share. Huh. Well, that sucks. Normally this works fairly well. What's going on here? Oh, this is like a browser thing. That's not great. I'm not happy. Let's just reload YouTube. What's going on here? Close? I'd have to... I have to restart my browser maybe. What's going on with this? This is a new problem. Talk about telling the God's honest truth. Let's try. There we go. Okay. I just want to show you a TubeBuddy thing. Everything's a lie. TubeBuddy blooper. Yes, yes. Okay, I am going to take a quick look at Pauline's channel. I'm going to risk making her not happy. But I think she's been here before. I think I've looked at her channel before. She's got the name of, as far as I'm concerned, the snazziestly dressed princess in the Mario Mushroom Kingdom. French. Cool. I just wanted to show you this function here. Assuming I can get it to work. There we go. So this is how I'm used to this failing. Not the other way. And so this is just one of those honesty things. So when you load Channelytics for a channel, this almost always happens. It defaults to subscribers, and then the subscribers don't frickin' load. But if you just flip over to views, and then you flip back to subscribers, boom, now you get the information. Very powerful tool. It doesn't work right straight out of the box. You have to do that little toggle thing to refresh it, and apparently sometimes it'll do that other thing that just happened. But that's the whole thing. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not here to be a shill. I'm here to share only the things that work and that I think actually work. So another product that I've reviewed to a degree is TalentZ. And I can tell you some good and some bad about that. And again, affiliate link down below. It's $7.99 a month, and you get basically unlimited graphic services. So what they do is they will... I have a profile picture on Facebook. I'm Ray R., the administrator, Small YouTubers Boost. I'm not going to give the URL out again. I've done it enough. Enough shilling for the group. But that the graphic of the profile picture, it's kind of like a cartoon, my head. That's from TalentZ. I also tried having them produce a thumbnail for my channel. What they sent back was okay. It didn't blow me away. The profile picture blew me away. I was like, this is freaking amazing. I have to use this everywhere. And they gave it to me in several formats, including a semi-transparent PNG where I could use just my head. And so that's been useful. I've used that as an element in thumbnails, and I've used it for other things, my personal Facebook and other stuff. And so that's been fantastic. The thumbnail, kind of hit or miss. And it's interesting because the profile picture took 10 days. Now that's 10 calendar days, not 10 business days. But it took 10 days for me to get that back because I had to send them a picture and then they kind of cartooned it for me. But the thumbnail I got back in like 24 hours. That was pretty fast. So it's, you know, if you find yourself struggling with thumbnails, you can, you know, try using them. And so, you know, it's $7.99 a month. Maybe just get it for 1 month. Get them to do you a profile picture. I think they do banners, you know, and just flood them with requests. Get the most out of that month, and then see what you get back. And then maybe continue with it, maybe not, but those assets are yours now. So that might be worth trying, especially for those of you struggling with the thumbnail game or maybe the banner situation. So that's something to think about. And that's something I've tried. But again, I'm going to tell you the full and honest truth. I've heard some reports that it can be a little challenging to cancel your TalentZ account. So I don't know that that's a super easy process. So full disclosure, make you aware, use at your own risk. But those are just some of the things. There are some Instagram plugins and apps that I've been approached to review, and none of them frickin' work. I would give you the names, but I don't want to give them that kind of attention because they were flawed products. But they were like, yeah, we'll pay you to promote our product. And I'm like, not if the product isn't good, you won't. Let's see here. Who else have we had kicking around in chat? What can I do for you? Frank! Frank, are you still here? Can I do something for you, Frank? I like that name. Either way with the social media icons is fine. Okay, fair enough. I can be picky sometimes. Frank, are you here? Yes. So, somebody had a good question. Is TubeBuddy or vidIQ better? Yeah, I'm not sure. I've only really tried and tested out TubeBuddy. I was a little concerned with the legalese, the terms and conditions and access on the vidIQ side of things. And so I think TubeBuddy is more broadly endorsed by major YouTubers, Roberto Blake and others. I could rattle off a bunch of names. But there's a lot of people who are big name YouTubers. And so I like it. And I think part of it also is I've looked at vidIQ a little bit, and it feels a little bit more complex. I like tools that are, I mean, for God's sakes, the free version of TubeBuddy has 31 tools. And then it goes up from there. I think the lowest paid version is like 45, and it also unlocks tons more functionality in the free ones. And I have Legendary, so I've got so much. I'm still learning about TubeBuddy, so yeah. That's just my personal experience. I can't really speak to things I haven't experienced myself. But Frank Sartain, if you're still here, is there anything I can do for you? Do you have a question? You want a tutorial? You want me to review a channel? Look at the SEO for one of your videos? Tell you what it's like to run a large Facebook group? I don't know. I am your monkey. What would you have me do? What else do we have here? What else have I missed in chat? After Frank, Clever to Swear would be up next. Really like how engaged you are in chat, which is nice. Is there a hierarchy of importance to improve a channel? Like, is thumbnail more important than title or tags and stuff like that? It's difficult to rank. I mean, I said it before, but the most important thing you can do to boost your channel is produce a new video on no more than one a day. Other than that, it's difficult to, like, every channel's kind of different. Every niche, all content and creators are different. Audiences are different and respond to different things. And one of the big challenges, and I didn't actually speak to this so much when I was ranting about thumbnails earlier, but there's no clear right or wrong. I mean, people know what they like when they see it, and they know what they don't like when they see it, but people will tell you there are rules about thumbnails. They will tell you you have to have a face. It has to be smiling. It has to be a young girl. There has to be an emoji. You have to have text. You have to have bright colors. And not like none of those are necessarily rules, because if everyone's following them, everything's going to end up looking homogenized and the same, for one thing. So for thumbnails, it can't be misleading, because that could result in a community strike. Get 3 of those and your channel is toast. So if you like, that's false advertising. So that is a definite rule. That is a YouTube rule and policy. But beyond that, I think that there's some things about thumbnails that we can follow as good advice. Text should be legible, as readable as possible. And so you can achieve that by doing things like having the text be a good contrast against the background, having an outline or a drop shadow behind the text, or even putting like a rectangle behind the text as a layer, maybe semi-transparent, maybe just full color to just make that pop. Like if you look at the top of this live stream, I've got text on rectangles, basically, on background, so that they pop. The Small YouTubers Boost live stream thing up there has a drop shadow on it. The Facebook URL has the highest contrast you can, white on black. So, but what has a bigger impact is really hard to gauge. One of the things I've been saying recently about YouTube is there's no one trick to YouTube. It's like 100 little things that you need to do, and for every channel, one of those little things could have a completely different impact. One could be the tipping point, the turnkey that gets you everything you want in life, and some don't have a thing like that. So it's difficult to say, but I understand the question. It's actually a really, really good question. How do you prioritize your work, right? After you've got your video out, and you've got a bit of time being a precious, precious commodity, where do I best spend it? And that's a really good question. A hierarchy of things to improve. The thing is, also, a lot of that stuff doesn't exist in isolation. Your title, your description, and your keywords are kissing cousins. They are super related. I mean, that's one of the things in the Videolytic tool, which I showed earlier, and I have a tutorial on this video, on this channel that'll show you about, is it talks about, and here we can even dive into, I hope Pauline doesn't mind that I'm doing this. We can dive in just so you can see some Videolytic action going on here. So under SEO on the Videolytics tool on my TubeBuddy browser plugin, I'm just going to load the search rankings. You get these 3 lines. The first one, I'm going to tell you, again, telling you the God's honest truth, the first line, not useful. It tells you how many videos were suggested by the same creator on this screen. That is not incognito. That is super customized to me. I told you, I've been watching Scott the Woz, so I've got a lot of Scott the Woz videos suggested here. I saw him on Cinemassacre, so I got Cinemassacre videos. That has nothing to do with this person, so ignore that top row. But the next 2 rows tell you a lot. The next row is, this video's tags appear 4 times in the title and description. What is that saying? It's saying that the keywords, the meta tags, like down here, boy would love, BTS, things like that, appear in the description and the title. And that is what I call keyword alignment. So I think that it is kind of a false premise, and I don't mean this too critically, to think that titles, descriptions, and tags are really different things. They are so closely related. And please, do this one simple thing, and you will rank. You will rank. It's not a guarantee, but it's as close to a guarantee as you're going to get from me today. If your title also appears in your description, also appears as a tag, you're probably 9 times out of 10, as long as it's not insanely competitive, gonna rank on that term. I do it all the time on my videos. And I rank a lot. And I just need to write titles that people are actually frickin' searching for, I think. So that's something to consider. So if you were to say update a title, you go to an old video that's not performing well, and you're like, this video is still relevant. It should have a chance. But the title, yeah, that wasn't perfect. I'm gonna tweak it. Sure. When you tweak the title, you're gonna want to make sure that the new title appears in the description and appears as a keyword. And then you'll do better. And so that's something you can do, but I want to get back to what I was saying to Amanda really early on in the live stream, is you can do too much of those tweaks. And so I try not to tweak a video more than once every 6 months. And I break that rule myself when I've got this old video and I feel like I'm just doing CPR. I'm like, staying alive, come on, come back to me. Come back to me, Six Flags videos, I missed the hate. I've got some ideas about getting my Six Flag video back alive. I think it needs a new thumbnail. I think that would that could bring it back to life. I'm just not sure that I'm emotionally ready for all the hate that video generates. But yeah, so thumbnails are separate from title. They're not as interrelated as the other things. So there's that. So yeah, like if I had to choose, what were the options that you asked again? Thumbnail, title, tags. It also depends on how much room for improvement you have. If you're, and I'm not saying this about a specific person, this can be about me in the past. If my thumbnail was trash, then, and just a modicum of effort in Photoshop with what I've learned since then would make it better, then that would be a great place because I've got this chasm of opportunity of massive improvement. So I don't know that there's a firm rule. It would be channel specific. I could take a look at your channel. I just want to quickly see if Frank has got a question here. A lot of thumbnails that has the red arrow with the circle as well. I do white arrows. I don't really do the circle thing unless... there's one video I have of a cruise ship investigating a life raft, and so I did put a circle so people can spot the life raft easier. I think that's the only time I've done the circle trick. But yeah, I made some white arrows that I use as elements. Guys, for guys and gals, if you are struggling with thumbnails and you don't have the means or interested in shelling out the $8 a month to Talency, another alternative that'll cost you nothing that made a world of difference for me, on Roberto Blake's channel, go and search Photoshop. And he has this Photoshop tutorial. It's like 14 to 17 minutes or something like that. And it changed my goddamn life. It will, like, hey, if you've got a strong thumbnail game, then maybe it'll be remedial. And if you don't have Photoshop, it won't be relevant. And maybe you already have excellent Photoshop skills. But for me, wow. And you know what I did? For like the first 6 thumbnails I made after discovering that video, I had it on my tablet playing as I'm on my desktop making my thumbnail. I'm like pausing it. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, do that step. Okay, do that step. I wasn't like stealing it necessarily, but I was going step by step, understanding the process and the workflow and the functionality in Photoshop. And I applied that to things like, and you can see his influence, I think, very strongly in the thumbnails. I have some videos about how to check in online for a Carnival cruise. Was, I think, one of the first videos I tried making a thumbnail using that methodology. That video is done very well for me, and I think you can really strongly see his influence there. Frank, are you still here? Are people still here? Can you all hear me? It feels like chat is really lagging. Rocky Tuition, thanks for subscribing. That is awesome. So presumably you're still here. And I tried to answer that Tibbity question. I'm going to take a quick look at Clever to Swear's channel. I just want to make sure that my live stream is still live. Live for 2 hours and 2 minutes. I've only dropped 12 frames. I think I'm still live. Maybe nobody's watching. I don't know. Maybe they'll watch it later. Okay, still getting some chat from Clever to Swear, so I think we're still hot. I think we're still live. So yeah, you were asking about whether you could look... Okay, 6 subscribers. So fairly early on, 2 videos. So sure. What am I about? Oh, I'm not sure. It's an existential question, isn't it? Am I about my true inner self of spirituality and the... I love that description. Depending on what your videos are about, that description breaks every rule in the book, and I love it. Because it's hilarious. You're having an existential debate and questioning your own existence in your about. I love it. That is fantastic. There is a guy, I think he's still in the group, Mr. No Face. I think he does philosophy videos. I don't know him very well, but I think he might find that very funny. So that's awesome. So let's take a look here. Right, of course, of the 2 videos. And so your question was sort of where to invest your time. Pretend video essay. That's kind of a cool sort of name for a video series. So I'm just going to click on this because I'm going to take a quick look with my tube buddy to see what video starting soon. Make a better looking graphic for this link. My hat is so off to you, it's in the other room. I freaking love this. Oh, man, I got to come back and check this stuff out. I mean, I don't care about M&M, so I don't know that the content subject matter, but I love the humor. This is fantastic. And you know what? I think that's great. Like, if there's a technical skill that you lack, replace it with a little self-awareness and self-deprecating humor. I think you'll do great. So you got a decent number of tags here, which is... Holy cow, what do we got here? Damn, you're ranking. You are ranking, son. You got some... Okay. Okay. You know what? I haven't watched the video, but I'm going to comment on this. Love the opening graphic. Maybe I'll throw a little lol emoji in there. Oh, I put it on a second row. Why does it look like it just posted that comment 4 times? What's going on, Firefox? Is this Firefox's fault? I don't know what's happening there. Okay, you might have 1 comment, you might have 4. Let me know in the chat how many comments that you just got on that video. Anyways. Yeah, so you're asking me about how you can prioritize your work. Now, looking at your channel specifically, because this stuff is really specific, the easy, quick wins exist in TubeBuddy's best practices. You've already got your thumbnail, your captions, and you got a like on Facebook. Awesome. But there's no info card. An info card takes 2 seconds. So I will tell you the 3 ways of doing info cards. There's the how can I put it? The hard way. No, the hard's the wrong word. The labor-intensive way, the quality way. There's the quality way, the lazy way, and the super lazy way. And they're all pretty okay. So there is the quality way. The quality way is in YouTube, you go to the info card tab at the top. If you have TubeBuddy and there's best practices, you can click. It'll take you right to it. Either way gets you to that screen. And then you can add an info card. So the quality way of doing it is watch the video, and anytime that you hear something that might prompt a different video, now this is tricky because you only have 1 other video, so you can only do this once for now, but in the future this will be easier, and you'll have more options. But wait until there's like something that prompts, oh, I referred to the other video, or this is like that other video, or maybe this part gets a little boring. Oh, there's a lot of dead air here. Something like that. That's the moment to go in and put an info card. An info card, for anyone who doesn't know, is something that will appear in the top right-hand corner of the video, and it'll refer them to another video. Later, as you unlock more features on your channel, it can link to websites and other things. A second channel, or other channel, if you have one, or want to refer to somebody else's channel and just, do some good in the community, pay it forward, and get some karma. That's cool, too. But anyway, so it's a little thing that pops up, and so here... Why would you do that? One thing, another way to place it is looking at your retention. I'll talk about that in a second. But let's say that people are getting bored with your video. It gives them another one of your videos to click to. Gives them something interactive to do so they don't just close the browser and end the session, and that's not great for SEO. algorithmic, stuff. So it allows you to promote another video and keep people on your channel and on the platform, get more views and watch time. So anyways, that's the quality way, so that it's relevant and at a good time. Here's the lazy way. The lazy way is to go and just look at your audience retention and see where it drops off to 50%. Get like 5 seconds before that, put an info card there, because you're about to reach the point where half your audience is gone. And so, again, you'll put it there to keep them on your channel because they're getting bored. Or the other lazy way, the lazier way, would be to go in and just put it right in the middle of the video. 11-minute video, put it in at 5.5 minutes. Boom, just link to the other video. One and done. The laziest way, and this is more so for people with a lot of videos, and if you have never done info cards before, or maybe you want all of your info cards to point to the same video, maybe your new video to get it a boost early on with view velocity, and as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, oh my god, I need to do this more. Or a specific video that you're wanting to promote. Maybe if you're monetized, it's something that happens to be generating high CPMs at the moment, or that is being picked up, an old video come back to life, and you want to, keep it alive. So you could just pick the middle and put it right there. A little phonetic punctuation for you there. And then there is the laziest way, which is you can use TubeBuddy to automatically add it to all of your videos. And so if you've never put an info card, for example, or you want to keep updating it to a different or new video across all your videos in just a few clicks, the paid version of TubeBuddy gives you the functionality to do that across all your videos at once. For an early channel, obviously that's not necessary. But having one info card in each of your 2 videos linking to the other video so that you could potentially create a little bit of a loop there, that's a good thing. And it's an easy thing, and it takes no time at all. And if you were watching us from the beginning, I spoke earlier about imagine every video has a secret algorithm score behind the scenes. And I don't know if that's exactly how it works, but that's a good way of conceptualizing it. And so by having an info card, you are adding a little plus something, +1, +10, plus Apple, I don't know, a plus something, so that YouTube sees he's doing everything. He's trying everything. So, he's taking it seriously, we should take him seriously. And so that helps. Adding an end screen. An end screen, for those of you who don't know, and that is totally fine if you don't know. Oh, and this is prime territory for an end screen. I can help you here. So an end screen is up to the last 20 seconds of your video. You can have clickable elements appear as an overlay on what's being displayed. And so again, this is good for a number of reasons. One is, if YouTube, and I say it again, if YouTube gives you a feature, use the feature. You will be rewarded in the algorithm. It will give you a little plus somewhere, somehow, that will help you do better in search and recommended if you do all the things. So adding an end screen is a good idea. Now, putting aside the algorithmic reasons to do it, there's practical reasons that are good. This is going to be a subscribe button, another one of your videos they can watch, a playlist of videos that you can watch. Later, when you unlock additional functionality, it might be a link to your Patreon or a merch store or your personal website, something like that. So that's the basics of what an end screen is. So let's look at this one here. It looks like it says, thank you for watching for at least the last 14 seconds of the video, possibly longer. So there is some space that we can work with here. Specifically in the top right-hand corner, we've got a good black space where there's not a lot of stuff. So if you go in and you go into Creator Studio to click Edit on this, and then you go to the end screen option, and again, if you have TubeBuddy, you can click directly to it from the best practices if you don't already have it there. And you'll want to add an element of a video. It can be, and in this case, it's a small channel, so of course it's going to reference your other video. But just for those channels out there that have more videos, some of the options available include recommended for the viewer, so that's use the algorithm. It could just be your latest upload, so that'll change every time you upload a new video to that video, which I'm starting to think I might want to do more of. I'm not sure. Because, yeah, that could help with view velocity. Yeah. Sorry. Anyways, it's, that sort of thing. So I think that would fit very well in the top right-hand corner because the end screen does have one key requirement, and at least one of the clickable elements has to be another video. And that's YouTube all over. They love watch time. And so keeping people on the platform watching longer is more watch time. And so they're not going to let you have an end card unless there's the opportunity for someone to stay on the platform. by watching another video. So at least one has to be that. And so if you're not sure which, again, if you're not this channel, because it's obvious which, best for viewer is probably a good idea, or latest upload, not a bad idea. Put that there. And then you can also add a subscribe button. I think a very good idea. And you can play around the placement. Looking at it now, the obvious placement would be off to the right, because this is align left text. But play around. You can't put it anywhere. There is sort of a defined space, a box, within the frame of your video where you can put this element. So you don't want it covering up any of your text, because that would look, frankly, unprofessional. But I think you've got enough space. Certainly on the right, if not more on the left. If it's on the left, I think that would actually work better, because there's another thing that I think you can do here that it doesn't appear that you've activated, is the branding watermark. If you go into Creator Studio Classic and you go into, I think, Channel and Advanced is where it lives, you can upload a semi-transparent PNG, I think is ideal, but I think a JPEG will work. And it will appear in the bottom right-hand tiny little corner of your video on desktop, where people can click on it right there, a clickable element, to subscribe right there, without using the subscribe button that is further down below. And you can set it, when you set this watermark, it appears on all your videos. You set it once and it's on all of them, which is nice, it's very efficient. And you can also set when you want it to appear. Maybe you don't want that watermark showing up until 30 seconds into the video, a minute, minute and a half, whatever is right for you. Or maybe you want that right away, just at the beginning. That's fine too. I recommend that you go in and you set that up, because that means for the entire duration, if that's what you select, or however long you want, of all of your videos, there'll be a clickable element in the bottom right hand. And the thing is, it looks pretty sharp. You could do a generic, like, YouTube thing that just says subscribe. I think it looks more professional if it's something that's tied to your brand specifically. So I use my logo. I've seen some people do like a calligraphy type thing of their initials. It looks very, very nice and professional. There's a lot of different things you can do for that. But again, adding the watermark, the end card, the info card, each one of these gives you an algorithmic advantage over you without that advantage. So you can bend that curve up a little bit. I told you, 100 little things you can do to do a little bit better on YouTube, and who knows which one will be the turning point, which one will be the turnkey that might just make everything great. Another thing in best practices, and so that's what I'm thinking, best practices for the most part, thumbnail is probably, and captions are the ones you kind of really have to work at, and in this case it's taken care of. Because captioning, especially for a longer video, can be tedious, especially if it didn't auto-caption. You're like, oh god, I have to type out everything myself. You can also pay people to do it for you. I've never done that, so I can't speak from experience. But you've got that. And so thumbnail can take a while to design as well. But the other things here are pretty quick hits to give your video the advantage. Info card is a few clicks. End screen, a few more clicks than that. Sharing it on Twitter is fine, is good. And then there's comment pinned and comment hearted. Now, this requires one key ingredient that not every video has: a comment. You could write your own comment. My personal preference is to wait for someone else to comment in a way that isn't troll, and then I will heart and pin it and reply to it. And so in this case, I've given you a little advantage on your M&M video. I've given you either 1 or 4 comments, a little glitchy there. But you could then reply to the comment, which encourages interaction, and interactions give you little pluses in the algorithm as well. And you could heart the comment, and you could pin the comment. Pinning a comment puts it at the very top of all the comments, regardless of sort of how they're sorted. And the heart is just it's like clicking like, except it's a public display of your appreciation of the comment, because it puts a little heart with your channel icon next to it. So you can click like, but your like looks just like everyone else's like on that comment. This is how you specifically acknowledge that comment in a public way. And YouTube built the tool. They want you to use it. They love it when you use their tools, so use their tools. And then when you come back, you'll see that a lot of these red X's become gray check marks, and then you'll kind of be on your way with some of those easy, quick things you can do to give your video its best opportunity for success on the platform. How is chat doing? Still live and well. Zaincher, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Glad to have you. Thanks for making sure that everything's working. I appreciate that. Thanks for the first comment. Yeah, no problem. Hopefully there's only one of them. If there's more, I can go in and delete them. I don't know why it would do that. I did mention Eminem in my first video as well, so I can put an info card there. Absolutely can. I've seen some channels where they hammer the point to describe and hit the bell. Doesn't it seem too preachy at a certain point? Oh, yeah, you and I are on the same page here. Let me tell you. This is something I've struggled with from a creative, artistic, moral standpoint. Maybe I'm just reluctant to do the thing that I don't feel like doing. I don't know what it is. Yeah, a lot of people pin their own comments. Sometimes it's an opportunity to link to things, and that works for some people. You can absolutely make that choice. I've tried it on a few videos, and it really hasn't worked well for me. But that's just my unlimited experience, and maybe I didn't fully commit myself to trying it. But yeah, the people who really hammer the subscribe thing. Here's my personal feelings. Grain of salt. I'm not judging anybody. I freaking hate it. Can you guess how I feel? Am I being too subtle? God, I can't stand it. But here's the thing. It works. It works. So I don't know. It's like taking out the garbage. But here's the thing. I think that it can be done well. The example that I like to point to is, I think, the latter half of last year on most of Stephen Colbert's videos, he had this great end card. So he's got clickable elements and stuff, but he says something like, what was it? He was like, if you like this video, click subscribe. It's almost as satisfying as skip ad. And it's funny. And another great example of things like that around the same time frame, I think pretty much for all of last year's Jimmy Kimmel's clips, I think he still does some of these, where he's like, I can't eat this cookie until you click subscribe, so go on and click it, I'm really hungry. And so it's a little funny, it's a little unique, you know, and so that kind of stuff is fine. So you find a way to do it that works for you so that it's sincere and not you just, pardon the expression, whoring yourself out. Because that's what it feels like to me sometimes. I've tried different things. Like I did a gag where I had a little warning pop up and says, warning, gratuitous request for subscribers coming or something like that. I put a little alarm sound. And then I cut to me and it was like, oh God, I don't want to be one of those guys that asks you to like and subscribe. So could you just, please? I don't want to be that guy. And so it was a little tongue-in-cheek. When I did that, I actually got a lot of likes and subscribes on that video, which was pretty funny. And a few people even commented, they were like, the ending was very funny. I'm like, cool. And so I actually have this idea. I haven't launched it yet. It's coming soon. I've recorded 1 or 2 of them that I'm trying to do for that kind of thing. And I'm calling it the Ray in Peril series, sort of internally, not really publicly. And so my idea for this, and I'm looking forward to this. This is one that I'm actually excited about doing. And so I think that'll resonate better with my audience because it ties into, it'll be sincere and I'll have fun doing it. And it ties into, I think, our sense of humor and our brand. And so the idea is that I put myself in a predicament and I act like if you subscribe, it will save me. So the one that's coming soon, here's a little spoiler, a little preview of something coming on Vacation Impossible as an end screen. I took over a tour bus in Mexico. I took over a tour bus in Ensenada, Mexico at La Bufadora, and I grabbed the mic and I just screwed around. And it was fine. Nobody complained, which was great. And so one of the bits that I recorded was I had the microphone at the front of the bus, and I'm like, help, I'm stuck in Mexico, and the only job I could get is tour guide. Subscribe and get me out of here. I'm hoping people find it funny. I pray to God that people find that funny. So there's that. And then I have some ideas in my head that I want to film about, like, one where I'm, like, stuck hanging upside down, and, like, it's kind of a short, tight shot, and I'm upside down, and I'm like, help, subscribe to get me out of this. And then it's going to, like, pan back, and it's going to be, like, just, like a kid's jungle gym or something, like something that's, like, totally not dangerous at all. And I have another idea for a gag. My best friend John, who I'm leaving on a 16-day road trip with on Friday, which is going to be so much fun. But he was in the Navy for 11 years, the Canadian Navy, and he's got a lot of Navy buddies, and these are like big guys, right? And so my idea for that is next time I'm hanging out with them is I want to film something where it looks like they're about to just pummel me, like they're grabbing me by the front of my shirt, and they look like they're gonna pummel me, right? And I'm gonna be like, I don't have time to explain how this happened, but please subscribe. And then I would turn to, like, the big tough guy playing the bruiser role or whatever. And my idea is then I would turn to him and I'd be like, you wouldn't hit me if I was famous, would you? And so, like, that would be kind of the gag. So I'm hoping that might resonate. But even still, that doesn't get me to the whole click the bell thing. And so, yeah, the bell thing. So, like a year or two ago, YouTube made a change where on your homepage and on your subscription tab, just because you're subscribed to somebody doesn't mean you're actually going to see videos from those people. Oh, that would be crazy talk. And so now you actually have notifications turned on. And then, like 6 months ago or something, they took it a step further. Not only can you turn on notifications, but you can set levels of notification. So it might be notified about everything or notified based on an algorithm. This is like the turducken of algorithms. It's an algorithm inside an algorithm inside an algorithm, inside a hope and a prayer. So, yeah, that's why people talk about that. And so the idea is, and that's driving towards view velocity. That's something I talked about a little earlier without explaining myself. So allow me to backtrack and explain what view velocity is. When you publish a new video, the first hour, day, and week of that video's life is important. It's been said that the first week in a video's life is the only week in a video's life. And that's not true all the time, but it's often kind of true. That's where a monetized channel is likely to get most views and make its most money in that first week. That's why if you get a copyright claim in that first week, it could kill like 80% of your revenue, but that's a whole separate issue. So view velocity is the amount of views you get in your first hour, your first day, your first week. Why is that so important? Well, that first hour is a strong indicator. If you can get like 100 views in your first hour, then hot damn, the algorithm's going to pay attention to you. And so let's talk about, what's her name, Janelle whatever, who has that channel that's blowing up about the van life and owning a pet snake and stuff. She had, I think, at least 40,000 followers on Instagram. So when she published that video, she probably, I'm not sure, put out like an Instagram story or something. And so some of those, a good chunk of those viewers, I'm making this up, but I'm like let's just say 10,000 of them, a quarter of her audience, went and watched the video, say, within the first hour. Huge initial view velocity in a situation like that. So it's saying that your subscribers have notifications on probably. They're super engaged. They can't wait for your content. The second your content comes out, they're watching it. These are the super fans, the true fans. Some of them, it's just going to be lucky chance that they happen to be scrolling through your channel when that video came out. But the general idea is that these are the really committed people. And so that is an incredibly important metric for the algorithm. They're going to be like, wow, it got 100 views in its first hour. I got to recommend this. This is going to get a lot of people staying on the platform, watching it, and getting served ads. Ooh, money for us. And then the first day is sort of the next step down in the importance of the view velocity. This is the people who are subscribed, potentially with notifications on, but this accounts for time zones. Because it's a 24-hour period. So, I mean, you can be notification squad, team number one, first to comment every single time. But if you're asleep when that video comes out, whose fault is that? That is just the world. So the first 24 hours gives it a more full, robust picture. But I don't think it counts as much as that first hour. But because, those true rabid fans, which thank God for true fans. John, if you're out there, I love you. As well as other people, Amanda, Our Resting Place, ASMR. I got a few true fans out there. The Hattersons, I think is sort of like a new one. You guys who comment on my videos, you make my day. But shout-outs notwithstanding, and gratitude, which is always good to practice. That first 24 hours accounts for time zones. So, like, maybe you have some audience in the West Coast of North America, some on the East Coast, some in the UK, some in Asia, some, and so that's given basically the whole world, accounting for jobs and time zones. If they were that interested in your content, they could have checked it out in that first day. And then we go to the week. The week period is important. WEEK, I should mention, 7 days, week. That is important because for the first week of a video's life, you may notice it gets tagged with a little new tag next to it that you'll see. I wonder if any of my recommended videos will actually show that right now. Yeah, okay, here we go. If you're looking on the right-hand side of your screen, in my recommended videos at the top, you'll see there's the Cinemassacre video. And you see underneath recommended for you, there's the word new here in a little rectangle. It's in gray and like a lighter gray rectangle. So it's popping. Nice contrast, by the way. Good graphic design there. So that new tag exists for the first 7 days of a video's life on YouTube. So during the first 7 days, the algorithm is like, I know some things about this video. I've got the title and descriptions and the tags and maybe some comments I could look at, and maybe they captioned it. So I know these things, but I don't still know how successful this is necessarily going to be. How are people going to respond to this? What's the click-through rate really going to be? How many people are really going to watch this? So for that first week, it gives you a chance. It gives you a little bit more exposure during that first week. An opportunity for people to click on it, because how else are you going to discover a click-through rate unless you have presentations, impressions is what they call it, of the video, the thumbnail, the title, what have you. So that's an important thing. And then after that week, the new goes away. The algorithm's like, yeah, okay, I know what this is all about. I know who to show this to, who not to show this to, and I'm going to just keep doing my thing. And that can change over time, but really the impression from the first hour, the first day, and the first week makes such a strong impression with the algorithm that has a huge impact, and it's really kind of hard to change its mind later. You know, doing things like retitling it, new thumbnail can kind of have it take a second look, but it's nowhere near as critical as those first time frames. So that's why notifications are really important, because it's a way of boosting those three metrics by quite a bit with your subscriber base. The problem is you have to tell people to do it in a way that's multi-step. Like, so many challenges. You have to clear so many hurdles to get to this point. You have to have your video, like, the opportunity to click on it. You have to have impressions. Your thumbnail and your title has to be compelling enough to get people to click on it. Once people start watching it, you've got to get them to watch the whole thing, hopefully. And then you got to ask them to subscribe, and hopefully they subscribe. And then they have to click on the bell. And then they have to click on the setting for the bell that says, please tell me every time this person uploads a video. You're asking 6 or 7 things by that point. And so that's pretty big. Some people do it right at the top of the video. That is off-putting for me. The reason for that is I just got here. You haven't given me any value, and you're wasting my time asking things from a total stranger. So I'm not going to subscribe to somebody I know nothing about. And that's my personal feeling. I've heard a different approach to that recently, where they were saying they say it at the top to get people thinking about it and embed it in their subconscious, in their conscious mind, because they're not going to do it then. And then later, like 10 minutes into the video, you ask them again, and they've been subconsciously evaluating you for subscription, and then maybe they pull the trigger. And so that's an interesting thought. I don't know that I want to deploy that myself, but it helps me understand a bit better the people who ask at the top, that maybe they are, I mean, I think a lot of them are just doing it because big YouTubers do it, or they heard somewhere that it's a good idea. But I'm wondering how many of them might actually be thinking along those lines. And that kind of gets a little bit more respect from me, because it's like, okay, there's actually sort of a psychological understanding behind it. So that may or may not be the style for you. But those are just some thoughts to try and answer that question. Some videos just randomly get recommended like half a year later, some even years later. Yeah, YouTube's in a constant state of flux. The algorithm's always changing. Your competition's always changing. And you never know. It's like the metaphor I use for YouTube a lot is it's like a lottery. It really is. Instead of paying money to buy a ticket, you're spending your time to create something. And you, but it's a little bit better than a lottery in the sense that they're constantly drawing numbers and your ticket is valid for every drawing. That's the metaphor I use. And so an example of that is my Lemonade soda review. This was season 10, as I used to call it. I've gotten away from those identifiers because they turn people off. But this was a trip that I took. I took an Amtrak train from Vancouver down to Portland. And while in Portland, I tried Lemonade for the first time. This was early days for my channel, even though it's kind of like season 10. That I wasn't really taking YouTube seriously, and so I did this kind of funny review where I tasted it for the first time, and I made a bunch of communist puns. I have a political science honors degree, so I've studied communism, and so I kind of like know the terminology, and I'm like, this is, and I find it funny, so I'm like, this is kind of funny. I'm going to show this to a couple of my friends. They're going to think it's funny. That's all it was ever for. And so I published it. It got about 30 odd views in the first few days, and then nothing for years. This was filmed in 2010, I think. So like 3-4 years go by. flatline, nothing. It's one of my failed videos. I've got hundreds of them. And then, somewhere along the line, I don't know, 2014, 15, for some reason that I couldn't possibly explain to you, it started getting a few views here and there. A view here, a view there, 10 views a day, 11 views a day, 12 views a day, 14 views a day. Well, that's weird. And I didn't even notice it because it was an older video, and I had some other videos that were doing well. My James Darren video was doing well and other things. And so my Six Flags video, I think, was out by that point. So that was getting like 8,000 views over like 7 months. First 6 or 7 months of its life. So like on my overall view count, I wasn't really noticing. But when I got TubeBuddy and some other things, I started, digging into my older videos, being like, all right, got a tool, gonna re-optimize and bring these things back to life. And so I was starting to look at that, and then I stumbled across my Leninade review, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have to bring this one back to life. It's alive! What happened here? And so to this day, I can't explain to you what happened. I think for some reason, people became interested in that product more and were searching it, and I had inadvertently owned the search term. I had Leninade in the title, the description, and the tags, so I had keyword alignment. And so when I initially published it, I think it was like, 35 people who knew me probably watched. And during that first week of that new tag, sorry, just a second. Someone gave me a book, and now they want to take it back, and I'm okay with that. I was thinking of doing a series of videos critiquing the book, but I don't know that would actually work very well, so I am fine with giving them the book back. Anyways, what was I talking about? Leninade. So I think that just people had been searching it. I think it was coming up as recommended on like an actual commercial for the product or something. I don't know what it was. And I'm not going to mess with it. I went into the analytics, and it was coming up mostly in search and a little bit recommended. So I think it's those things, is that search volumes increased. There wasn't a lot of competition. And I think the video at some point got auto-captioned. And the auto-captioning was actually fairly accurate. I've since corrected the minor errors. And this is the thing, the auto-captioning, YouTube can hear what you're saying. And so, I am loyal to YouTube. I believe in YouTube. For YouTube listening. And so the idea is that part of it was, I think that I said Leninade several times. I said communist puns, which the brand of the soda utilizes. And so the keyword alignment really kind of lined up there, because if you say a word in a video, the word exists in the title, the keywords, the comments. If it exists in all those places, then that's probably what your video's frickin' about. And so then the algorithm becomes confident and shows it. So it brought it back to life. I like how the Nimmin brothers can show what's on their phones while live streaming. It's real sharp. That's interesting. Live streaming is an interesting thing. Achilles Melee had recommended that I do live streaming on my Vacation Impossible channel. And I'm like, I don't know that fits with a travel brand. I don't know. I was giving it some thought, because he has a lot of good ideas, but he has a lot of ideas, and it's impossible to do all of them. The guy's full of ideas and optimism, and I think that's part of what's wonderful about him. So I was thinking about it, and then YouTube came along and made a change a couple months ago. I have a video about it here on this channel, where people had live streamed some sort of tragic event. And so that was generating some problems with the advertisers and the viewers. So they had made a rule change where you had to have 1,000 subscribers in order to live stream from mobile. And by that point, I had my 1,000 subscribers, so I didn't lose out. But there were a lot of channels in the group who did lose out in that moment, and understandably so. And you can debate the merits of whether or not that was the right solution. I don't personally think that it was. I don't know that I have a better solution, so I don't fully fault them for this. But I think that they had recently put a year and change previous, they put the 1,000 subscriber requirement onto monetization. And so they had a new problem. They said, well, we'll just copy half of that solution to this problem and hope that it works. And so far, I think it's been relatively okay for them. But it was interesting because when they brought in those monetization rules, I was at 98% of the watch time, so I was like, I could taste it. But I only had 30% of the subscribers required. And so and I made a big push for a month. I produced a video every single day for 30 days because they gave you a month's notice when they were bringing in the new rules. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. I'm not, at the end of this month, I'm not going to be able to say that I didn't try everything I could to meet it. I'm going to give this everything. So every day after work, on weekends, whatever, I was just editing like a beast. I had a year's worth of footage from travel adventures, so finding footage wasn't the problem. It was just doing the work of editing, making the thumbnails, titles, description tags, uploading, social sharing. And so I was in beast mode for a month, and it drained the hell out of me. It felt like I had 3 jobs instead of, 1 and a hobby. So I was doing that, and I got... I don't know, I got like 30, 40 subscribers over that month. And I hit the watch time 2 days after they brought the requirement in. But it didn't matter because I didn't have the subscribers anyways. And so it was a big boon to my channel. If you go on Social Blade and check Vacation Impossible and you check what happened in that January, you can see that things started ticking up. And so that is the power of algorithmic advantage of a video a day. And I'd like to think that some of the content was good. I think it would have been better content if I'd taken my time and not rushed so much on the editing. I can go back and change the title, description, and thumbnails, but the editing of the video is like pretty much locked in. Although YouTube might be coming out with some new editing tools for post-upload in the not-too-distant future to deal with copyright issues, so who knows about that. But I don't think I'll go back on those videos. Those are done. I need to move forward. But so I made that, and then the time came, the deadline hit, and I was nowhere near the required number of subscribers, and my monetization got taken away. And at that point, I didn't even care about monetization. I had only monetized my channel as an experiment because I was wondering, because at that point, YouTube hadn't publicly said anything yet, whether a monetized video gets better recommended and search results than a non-monetized video. And so I only monetized 25% of my videos as an experiment to try and see this. And then halfway through this month-long period, YouTube just came out with an announcement and said, oh no, we've never treated monetized videos any differently in search and discovery than non-monetized, so don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, I originally monetized my channel for nothing now. And the evidence that I had gathered from my little experiment was actually kind of lining up with what YouTube was saying. So I was like, oh, okay. But the thing was, I had this monetization. And they were taking it away from me due to no fault of my own. And it pissed me off. It made me angry, is what it did. And so suddenly I was like, I'm getting it back. I'm getting back this thing I don't even care about. And so for like the following 9 months, I didn't continue beast mode. A video a day would have killed me. But I did start taking things more seriously. Joining some Facebook groups, other stuff. And it was towards the end of that period. So this was like mid-February that they cut it off. And it was like early August I got TubeBuddy. And it was late October that I finally crossed the requirements. TubeBuddy helped drag my butt across that finish line. Thank you for your help, TubeBuddy. I had gratitude for helping get me across that finish line. 5 weeks of review, then I got monetized again. But now that I had fought so hard for it, and again, I still didn't care about the money, although I will take it, to be abundantly clear. Money makes other things possible. But that's not what I was in it for. I wanted to inspire people to travel differently, and save money. That's a belief. It's a thing I believe in, and would love to accomplish. The whole reason I created my first YouTube channel, Vacation Impossible, was I grew up in poverty, and so did many of my friends. And through education, we were able to break that cycle of poverty in a single generation. Go to university, go to the Navy, whatever. Different friends of mine took different paths, but we were getting to a point where we were no longer in poverty, and we started having disposable income. And I desperately wanted to see the world. I wanted to travel. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it came from or why, but it's something I very much wanted to do. But coming from a mentality of deprivation is probably the wrong word, but where there's no abundance, where there's no disposable income really beyond being able to maybe afford a video game every now and then. The idea of travel seems like such a luxury, such an unnecessary expense, an impractical, a bad way to spend your money, frankly, when you're used to, you gotta save every penny. You gotta use the coupon. Growing up, I didn't rent video games unless there were coupons for free rentals. Things like that. And so now we'd broken the cycle of poverty, and we had some money, and so some of them were, with the disposable income, some of them were squirreling it away, very responsible, getting, retirement savings accounts and things, and I did some of that. Some of them were getting cars and decking it out and modding it and stuff, and I did none of that. Some were spending it in different ways, and I wanted to see the world so desperately, and the people around me, both friends and family, thought it was a trivial expense. And so I created my channel because I thought video would be a great way to entice them to travel with me. That's how I began. And part of it has never changed from that. It's expanded, it's grown, it's become its own thing. But at its core, really what I love is like if a friend of mine sees one of my travel videos and says, man, when's your next cruise? I want to come along. I want to try that out. That's why I'm here. That could be the biggest... People ask you what does success look like on YouTube? That's my thing. I mean, I'd love other things too, but like that's actually top of the list for me, and that's never changed. And sometimes it has. Like in 2013 at the end, I convinced 8 friends and family members to go on their first ever cruise out of Miami. Keep in mind, we're here in Vancouver. So to go to the other corner of the continent and then get on the ship to try something they'd never done before, going to countries and destinations they've never gone before in their life. And sometimes I think that maybe some of my videos helped with that. They saw the fun that could be had. They saw that I knew how to do it cheaply and smart. So... that was great, and there have been other things since then. And so ultimately at my core, that's what it always gets back to. So that's why I'm doing it. So anyways, I had lost this monetization, which I didn't care nearly as much about. But yeah, you take something from me that was mine for no reason, I'm getting that thing back. Vacation impossible? It's impossible for me to get monetized? Oh, we'll see. Challenge accepted. And so once I got it back, now I had this thing that I fought so hard for. Still didn't totally care that much about, but I fought so hard for it. And I'm like, so okay, you know what? I'm going to go monetize all the videos that I can. I'm going to do it in my particular way. So like, for example, I don't have monetized info cards because I don't want people to think that I'm endorsing products that I don't even know are running ads. And I don't do mid-roll ads except on my mukbang video, frankly, because that video is so bloody long. I want to give people a little break in the middle. I'm trying to do them a favor with that ad. But I'll only place beginning and end, and I always select skippable, and I'll have the little banner ad. But that's as much as I'm willing to do. I won't do mid-rolls. I won't do the info card kind. And so... Getting back to why I was talking about this, a few months ago they took away live streaming from anyone who didn't have 1,000 subscribers. And so Achilles Melee had told me, hey man, you should try live streaming. And I'm like, when I travel I don't have the internet, and at home it's silly maybe for Travel Channel, I don't know. And honestly, I've been giving these reasons. What I'm really thinking is I don't think anyone will tune in. Real talk. I'm like, I'm going to go live and no one's going to show up. And it's going to be sad. And so I'm just not doing it. That was my real feeling. Completely honest. Achilles, if you're still here, now you can see why I was making those excuses. Those were excuses. Here's my confession. Those were excuses. I honestly just feared nobody would tune in. That was legit the reason. If I had the guarantee that people would tune in, I probably would have tried it. So anyways, that's where my head space is. And then a lot of these channels lose their live streaming for mobile ability. And I'm like, oh, well now I've got this valuable thing. And so I was in SeaTac Airport in May. And I have a video on my Vacation Impossible channel about how to get free upgrades. Because I'm all about, have the best experience at the lowest price. Ooh, that's a good tagline. You should remember that. I should do something on that. TubeBuddy, the mobile app, has a topic planner where you can throw ideas in a moment. That's a good place to keep those ideas organized before they fall out of your brain. So anyways, I'm there, and sure enough, I got a free upgrade. And so I'm thinking, I'm full of this positive energy. I'm excited, endorphins. I just got this free upgrade. I used my system, and it worked, and I got the free upgrade. This is awesome. I'm going to talk about this in the podcast. No, I'm going to go live on my phone because you know what? A lot of people can't, and I'm blessed with this opportunity. I should do it. I should use it, this is perverse maybe in an odd way. I was like, I feel like I'm honoring the people who don't have it because they would kill for it, and here I am having it and not using it. It feels like a lack of gratitude, and I like to practice gratitude as much as possible. Thank you everyone for watching, by the way. I'm really glad that you're here because again, if I had a live stream and no one showed up, this would suck for me. And it would be kind of a waste of time at that point, wouldn't it? So anyways, and so I grabbed my phone and I got on the airport Wi-Fi at SeaTac and I tried to find a place where there wasn't any music playing. This is YouTuber life right here, right? The things you think about. It's like there's music playing. I'm gonna get a content ID match. No music, not today. No Michael Bublé. You can't be in my video. And so I found this little crossover bridge between two sections of the airport where there was no music and just enough Wi-Fi. And so I'm doing this for the first time. It's like, take a picture for the thumbnail. I'm like, yeah, okay. Hold the ticket. Cover my name. Hold the ticket. And then I went live and I did a 3-minute broadcast and someone tuned in right away. Thank God. And I was even thinking, I was like, you know what, even if no one tunes in, I could go for like a minute or two, it'll be an okay video, and I'll just talk about how what the system is and how it worked. So it'd be fine if nobody tuned in, but someone did and talked in chat, so I was like, Achilles might have been right. Awesome, this is amazing. So I did a quick little 3-minute live thing, then they started announcing like pre-boarding or something, so I had to kind of cut it off. And it's gotten like 173 views or something. And so it's not great. For my channel, I consider a success anything over 1,000, and anything under 100 a dismal failure. So it wasn't a dismal failure in terms of view count. That's just where my channel's at right now. Those are not, that's just me on my journey. Everyone's journey is different. People constantly in the Facebook group post their like view and subscriber count and say, oh, I'm at it for 6 months or 6 years. Am I doing good? And like, I'm just like, no, don't judge yourself against somebody else's race. There's no consistent standard. All you can compare yourself against is yourself from the past. Am I doing better than yesterday, last month, a year ago? If those things are true, if any one of those 3 things is true, take some pride, feel good about it. And then move forward. How can tomorrow be better? Don't compare yourself to the next guy over, because they're on a different journey. They have different luck, different content, different audience. Who knows what they're up to? Maybe they're buying ads. Maybe, you know, whatever. Maybe they're just younger, prettier, whatever. Things that you couldn't necessarily control. So you got to be on your own journey. But anyways, it got 173 views, so not a dismal failure, but not a success. However, I'm leaving on a 16-day road trip on Friday. We are in Vancouver. We are driving to Indianapolis. Then we are driving back from Indianapolis via Edmonton. It is this crazy route. It's going to be amazing. And after my experience doing my quick little 3-minute live stream at SeaTac Airport, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I really hope there's strong Wi-Fi at Mount Rushmore. I really hope there's strong Wi-Fi at the geographical center of the United States, at Iowa's largest frying pan. These are some places we're stopping along this trip. Some of them are total tourist traps, and I can't wait. Things I've never seen before in my life. I'm super excited. And if I could do a quick little 3-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute live stream at those locations on my travel channel, I think that'd be pretty awesome. I'd like to think that, you know, I would be using this thing that other people unfortunately don't have, and I feel for them. But it's kind of like, you know, in a bizarre way, this might seem disingenuous, but in a bizarre way, it feels like a way of expressing gratitude for the opportunities that I have by trying to take advantage of them and provide value to other people in those opportunities, in those moments. So, yeah, I'm really hoping that I can do some of that. So subscribe to Vacation Impossible with notifications turned on. And maybe you'll catch me live, you know, in a week's time at Mount Rushmore or something, and you can see it in action. But I'm looking forward to that. And I think that live streaming is... I think YouTube is threatened by Twitch. I think that there is a big fight brewing or already happening behind the scenes between Google and Amazon. Because... you think Google runs the internet, but Amazon owns most of the servers. So that's a huge liability. If they get into a big spat one day, and like Amazon decides that they're going to turn off all relations with Google, which the death of net neutrality could make possible, and they're just going to, like, the Amazon servers will no longer carry Google or YouTube. Could you imagine if that could happen? I don't think it will, but, you know, it's possible. And for people who make a living solely on YouTube, that would be devastating. So if you are relying on YouTube as your primary source of income, you know, diversify, because that could happen, and you will be powerless if it does. Think of all those Viners. Vine shut down. A lot of them successfully came over to YouTube, and, you know, I'm not a big fan myself of a lot of them. Some of them, yeah. But you got to imagine that there were some that had a lot of success on Vine, and it didn't translate, and it wasn't their fault. The platform died. It's not their fault. But they could have gone from here to zero very quickly. if they weren't diversified, if they didn't have another place that people could find it. So Amazon owns Twitch. So if you have Amazon Prime, you get these bits in Twitch that you can give to creators live streaming and stuff like that. But anyways, I think that think about the war. If there was a war between Google and Amazon, the casualties would be all over. YouTubers would definitely be casualties there. Would the Google Home Mini, could you purchase it on Amazon if they're at war, or would they block the product? You know, a lot of things like that. And so, and they're fighting for supremacy, as a business does. I don't begrudge them that. And so I think that Google would really, and this is something that they're struggling with YouTube. It's kind of a contradiction if you think about it. They would really love to do better with live. But they've got that problem from the people live streaming horrific, tragic mass shootings and things. So that's tricky. And in fact, by just saying that, I might have triggered the algorithm in a bad way. I don't know that I should have just said that. Google, I'm sorry, I love you. Anyways, the idea, I think, is like, you know, they tried, you know, YouTube gaming, and then now they're kind of rolling it back into the primary platform. And so like merch shelf threshold, I think, or channel membership threshold for gaming channels was like 1,000, where it's like 30,000 for other channels. But they're re-merging. So now you're going to be seeing these channels that are kind of contradictory, because they'll have membership opportunities, but they would not have yet hit the subscriber requirement to unlock that feature. But they're not taking it away from people, I don't think, just because they're re-merging the platforms. A lot of interesting stuff going on with YouTube. It's a very interesting space, and it's constantly news and things are changing. But anyway, so I think that my live video, the people that were commenting, they weren't, like, in the chat, my little 3-minute video, they weren't the people who comment on my videos usually. This is not my usual audience. I think that YouTube, and from what I'm seeing in my recommendations and stuff, I think they're pushing live a little higher. And I think live streamers are finding a little bit more success, because I think they're getting this advantage because YouTube has some anxiety about Twitch, believe it or not. And so, I mean, I don't know, it's a theory. Most everything about YouTube is a theory. There's very few things that are proven fact that aren't straight up YouTube policies. And so I'm wondering if I might be able to attain a little bit better growth if I go live a little bit more often. And just the idea of, hey, this is Ray from Vacation Impossible live at Mount Rushmore. That would be awesome. I think that would be great. And I would try to do that and still film my usual videos. So that's just some thoughts. I don't know how I got on the subject of live. I don't think somebody asked me about that. We were talking about things being recommended, I think. Oh, all right, the Niman Brothers live streaming things. So anyways, the other point of that is that I'm not experienced when it comes to live streaming. I do these channel reviews. I'm still using OBS Studio Vanilla. I downloaded Streamlabs, but I haven't used it yet. I've appeared on the Mario Marathon, but that was as a personality, so not so much with the technical background. And I've only live streamed to YouTube, other than these channel reviews, once through my mobile on my primary channel. So I'm not an expert in that kind of stuff. I did a collaboration recently with Angela Lynn here in Vancouver. We did a scavenger hunt. And you use an app on your phone called, I think, Let's Roam. And so she was doing live recording, live to tape, I guess would be the better term, of her usage of the app. And so we're going to be, she'll make her video, I'll make mine. But I haven't even done live recording of my screen of my phone. I don't do live capturing of my screens for my tutorial videos on this channel. I take screenshots and do it all in Premiere because I'm ancient and old school. So I don't know that much about live, but that's my live information that I have there. Let's see here. Fun fact, I randomly uploaded a video in 2013 about Eminem, which was called Eminem Evolution. I ran clips of his music. 400,000 views before copyright claim. The concept became a huge trend years later. 400,000 views would be overwhelming. That's an interesting thought. It's an interesting conversation here in chat. I'm liking this. Yeah, that copyright thing, was that a strike or a content ID match? A content ID match is where an automatic process behind the scenes matches something like music to a copyright holder has maybe uploaded their music and say, this is mine. If other people use it, I'm going to set some policies at the song-by-song level. And you can check these out ahead of time in the music library, in the YouTube Classic Studio app. YouTube Classic thing, the browser thing. YouTube website. You can actually search an artist or a song, and it'll tell you what the policies surrounding that are. It might be like, you know what? This is like Prince or Oasis talking here. If you use my song at all, no, we're shutting it down. Your video can be watched by no one. Copyright strike for you, possibly, but probably more just like shut it down. Or you could be something in between, where it's like, yeah, you know what? Okay, you can run this, but not in Germany. WMG is like that. They're like, you may not show your video in Germany, and everywhere else there will be ads and we'll make money. Okay. Some of them are just like, oh, we'll run ads. Maybe we'll run info cards that are ad info cards as well, which is interesting. Or maybe they'll have no restrictions at all. So content ID match is not the end of the world. You can still get monetized if you have content ID matches. It's okay. You can't monetize those specific videos, but your channel is okay. It's all right. Don't panic. If you get copyright strikes, that's a big problem. 3 of those. Your channel's dead forever. You're never getting it back. There's nothing you can do. We cannot help you in that situation. 400,000 views would be overwhelming. Yeah, that's interesting. My channel is over 500,000 views. We hit that a month or 2 ago, which was kind of awesome. But my channel is like 13 years old. Maybe older. So, yeah, that's interesting. It's an interesting kind of like fantasy. What if I suddenly got 400,000 views? I don't know. I think that'd be pretty amazing. I think I'm ready for it. If it were to happen, it would be pretty great. I don't see a lot of downside. Unless it's 400,000 views on my Six Flags video and everyone hates me. Then I might need to take a nap. I might need some me time just to process that that level of trolldom has an impact on the mental health. I would need to take a little break. It's an inspiring story. Maybe I should talk about that on my channel more. Yeah, podcast topic. I'm getting a couple good ideas here. I'm going to record this into my TubeBuddy thing. So I love the TubeBuddy mobile app, but it does take a little while to load versus other apps. I'm telling you the whole complete story. But it's worth waiting for, in my personal opinion. So, just going to click on the menu in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's where you bring up... I accidentally closed the app. This is Ray Fails live on the internet. We're glad you're here. So there's 3 lines in the bottom right-hand corner, the TubeBuddy app, and then it brings up the option of Topic Planner. And it's a pretty simple function. I mean, you could do this with like a notepad file, but I never did. Yet having this app, suddenly now I do. So, add, title, YouTube, story, I'll just call it. I think I'll remember what that is. What was the other thing earlier I was thinking would make a video? Forget. Anyways, favorite place to visit. My favorite place on the planet is the Atlantis Water Park in Nassau, the Bahamas. So the way I go there is I'll take a cruise that'll go there, and so I'll just be there for the day, and I'll book an excursion that'll take me to the water park. So it'll include the transportation from the cruise ship to the water park and back again, and include the water park itself. It may or may not include a lunch, depending on the package. I did it first in December of 2013. It cost like $100. It's like doubled in price since then. It is still worth every penny. Atlantis is one of the few places, it's like Atlantis, the Grand Canyon, and I don't know, a couple other places on the planet where reality is better than the commercial. You know, as a travel guy, I look at pictures online of hotels before I go to them, right? I use TripAdvisor. I have a tip video all about that. And sometimes they're clearly using the fisheye lens to make the hotel pool look Olympic size when it's really tiny and stuff like that. And commercials, you know, you get the picture of your Big Mac and it looks so perfect. And then you get the thing from McDonald's and it's covered in grease. And so reality normally doesn't match the picture perfect Hollywood presentation. There's some P words for you. I've got a pop filter that you see on television in the commercials, right? The reality doesn't live up to it. These are 2 places, the Grand Canyon and Atlantis Water Park. The commercials don't do them a lick of justice. What you see on TV doesn't do it any justice at all. The water park at Atlantis, you think of a water park, and you're like, okay, it's going to be a great water park, but, like, you need floaties, right? You're going to, like, you never find a floaty when you need one. The lineups for the rides are going to be insane. And they can be subject to that line thing, but they got floaties everywhere. The lazy/intense river that they have goes on way longer than you'd expect. The scary drops are scarier than your nightmares. The cool floaty thing, they've got a slide that goes down and then up again. And they got a couple like that with floaties and stuff, and then spits you out into the lazy river. This is living. They've got these 2 water slides that go through a shark tank. One's a body slide and the other one's on a floaty. I'm not doing the body slide thing. I do the floaty thing because I love a floaty. And so you go through this like black hole tunnel-y sort of thing on a floaty, and that's just fun on its own. Then it shoots you out into this chamber, and there's like a waterfall that shoots you through into the chamber, and then you just gently float along, and you are surrounded by sharks. And then at the end, there's another waterfall, a nice gentle thing that spits you out into a pool, and you're on the outside. I went back to that a second time with my friend Mike when we were there on a cruise ship in 2016. I must have done that shark thing 6 times, and I barely waited. It was amazing. So favorite place to visit is, Atlantis Water Park. It's pricey, but it's worth it. I guess I like this guy. Thanks for such good info. Awesome. Rock 8 Tuition. Thank you for that. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Let me know if you have any questions or like a channel review or anything. Still terrified of flying. I do have... video idea. How to not be afraid of flying. I am not an expert in psychology or flying. I'm just a guy who travels a lot. But I actually do have something that can help with this. I should have left my TubeBuddy app open. Yes, loading videos. Come on, son. Also, my phone is not top of the line. This is a Sony Xperia that I bought a year ago, so your mileage may vary. Come on. Loading topics, yes. Add. Fear of flying. I do have something for this. So, I travel a lot. In 2016, I went on 6 cruises. That's a cruise every other month. And in every single case in 2016, I had to fly to the departure port because Vancouver basically only services Alaska and Hawaii, and those are a little pricey. And I did those in 2017. So in 2016, I was flying all over the place, frequently having to take 2 flights each direction from Vancouver. So like I'd have to change planes in Denver or O'Hare, Chicago, or somewhere else. At least in Chicago, I get the deep dish pizza at the airport. Very nice. Little Reggios. Anyways, and so even still with the amount of flying and the experience I have flying after all these years, I do feel a little fear and nervousness sometimes. I am an amusement park guy, so I do like a ride. But, I'll feel that turbulence unexpectedly, takeoff and landing, a little nervous. Some tricks that I have discovered work well for me personally may or may not work for you. For takeoff and landing, I like to distract myself with a mobile game. So for that, you have to have it in airplane mode, so it has to be a mobile game that works without Wi-Fi. So like Mario Run will not work. Pokemon Go will not work. But you can play, there's a game called Ball, spelt with a Z, that works offline. Pandemic, there are certain versions of Angry Birds that you can play. So I find that as a little helpful so that I'm not just sitting there picturing the worst. I intellectually know that flying is safe. They say flying is the safest means of travel. What do they mean by that? As a percentage of trips, there are the fewest number of accidents. Certainly fewest number of fatal accidents flying. So I know this guy who, for a living, repairs helicopters, and he and I were talking about this one day, and he says, "You know what the most dangerous thing you can do at an airport is? Get into a car." I mean, it's probably one of those common sense things where everybody has heard it, but up to that point in my life, I just hadn't heard it put that way. And let me tell you, the next time that somebody picked me up at the airport and they pull up in the car, I'm like, all right, thanks for the lift. Like, now I'm nervous. But that's one of the things, is so understanding that, because, because of the fear and the cost associated with plane travel, it is incredibly safe, and they do perform tons of maintenance, and, there's so many redundancies and safety features. I also take faith in the American tendency to be litigious. If it were unsafe, they would have been sued into oblivion by now. Is one of the things that that's sort of like the mental game. And in terms of like turbulence and things like that, a piece of advice that I heard that sounded crazy when I heard it, but I thought I'd give it a try, And it's this positive self-talk. You know, people talk about like the power of positive thinking, you know, the secrets, write down your goals, things like that. It sounds like hokum, and sometimes this stuff actually kind of makes sense. Sometimes it's actually like conditioning yourself psychologically. So when I'm going through turbulence, this was some advice I heard somewhere, Andrew Matthews or somebody mentioned. Actually, and this works. It might feel a little crazy, but hey, if it makes you less anxious, do it. Actually say out loud, "This is fun." It's weird, but it works. And like, I'm a guy who doesn't fear it that much, but the little bit of fear I have, when I do that, it diminishes by like 90%, 40%, something. A substantial enough margin that I feel physiologically my body less tense. And were there to be an accident, tense is what you don't want to be. It's the people who are tensed up that get hurt, the loose ones. That's why you hear like the stories of the people who get in a horrific car accident, and the guy who was drunk ends up with like no injuries. It's because he's staying loose. That's part of why. God willing, he had a seatbelt on in those situations. But anyways, those are the kinds of stories where you learn something from the horrific story. Those are the ones I'm okay with. That's worth my time. But actually saying it out loud, it kind of makes your focus determines your reality. It vocalizing it almost makes it more true in sort of a psychological way. And so I'm a big Star Trek nerd, and so I do my McCoy impression, and I don't really have a McCoy impression, and it's not very good, but there's a time in Star Trek 6 where they're just being hammered by the Klingons with torpedoes, and he grabs onto a wall, a bulkhead or whatever, and he's like, "This is fun." And he's saying this sarcastically as a criticism of Kirk for getting him into the situation, of course. But for me, I'm like, I'm just quoting Star Trek, don't mind me. I'm not crazy, I swear. I'm just a nerd. I don't know if that's better. But yeah, so actually saying this is fun, it sounds so crazy, but try it. If you get the opportunity, find yourself in that situation, give it a shot. Can't really do much harm, and if it helps, how great would that be? And yeah, like, how pathetic am I? I understand you say lol and stuff like that, but hey, just generally, guys, like, watch the negative self-talk. I mean, I don't want to be too critical and stuff, but like YouTubers, we are our worst critics. We beat ourselves up, and that's why people make videos like, "I'm sorry, I haven't made a video in a month," and then somebody tunes in and they're like, "I don't care. Get to the point of the video. I don't know you, dude. Just get to it." And so that's something. Is like we need to let ourselves off the hook a little bit more. We need to forgive ourselves for stuff. We need to be okay with, you know what? I like to think that I'm pretty good at certain like technology things. I'm pretty good at YouTube, I like to think. I understand some of the technology of it. I got a good grasp of it. I don't cook a lot of different food. And so I'm not beating myself up because I'm not a master chef. I've focused my skills and I've educated myself on something else. And that's a choice, and that's fine. And so don't beat yourself up for being you. Nobody's good at all things. Be proud of the things you are good at, and let yourself off the hook for some of the rest. One of the things, a specific YouTube thing that I'm using this as a segue for, is people talk about losing subscribers. It's going to happen. It's going to happen for a multitude of reasons. If you go into your analytics in Studio Classic, on the left, you click Analytics, there's a subscriber tab. And it will tell you not why people unsubscribed and subscribed. It will tell you where they unsubscribed. And this is important. Because where begins to get at the why of it. And so, if it says closed accounts, all of the ones that say closed accounts, forgive yourself for. It's not your fault. Little Goodwill Hunting for you. It's not your fault, son. If their accounts got closed and you're not doing dodgy things like sub for sub, that has nothing to do with you. You could not save that subscriber. It wasn't possible. It has nothing to do with what you're producing. Maybe they had a multitude of accounts. Maybe they did something dodgy and got shut down. Who the heck knows? It's not on you. So, if you say, "Oh, I lost 22 subscribers and, gained 66. I got a net gain of 44, but I lost 22. What did I do wrong?" If you go there and you look and you see any unclosed accounts, immediately give yourself a free pass for those ones. Not your fault. Then you can go and look at the other things. If it's from your YouTube channel, if there's a lot there, you might want to take a look at the layout of your channel, the banner, things of that, and think, could this be better? Does this need to be reorganized, refreshed, updated? I did that recently with my Vacation Impossible channel because I saw that I was losing a few from my channel page. And then there's the watch page. You used to be able to click on that and it would list out all the videos that they unsubscribed from. That hasn't worked in months. You can go video by video to see how many subscribers it earned or lost, and that's a little tedious. But so that's the other thing. If you're losing a lot from the watch page, okay, maybe the videos are part of it. But if you're not losing them on the watch pages, the problem is not your videos. So that's just some useful stuff, and stay loose. Let yourself off the hook. Can you get copyright claimed for music playing in the background at an airport or a mall? Yeah, it's happened to me. In the sense of a content ID match, absolutely. Would you get a copyright strike for that? I suppose it's technically possible, but I haven't personally experienced it. I have heard some people claim it, but those people often didn't present much in the way of evidence. So sometimes people come into the Facebook group and they really they're like, I got my channel shut down and I didn't do anything wrong. And then 2 seconds later, they're admitting to sub for sub. And it's like, no, you got shut down and you should have been, and we can't help you. We will point it laugh at you now. Because that was your own fault. You committed fraud and you got shut down. So generally the people who say that they got a strike for something like that, they kind of follow the similar conversation speaking patterns of these people who claim they did nothing wrong and then later admit to sub for sub. So, or they maybe don't fully appreciate the difference between content ID match and copyright strike. They are very different things. So it's possible, but I wouldn't worry about it. In worst case, you'll get a content ID match and the video will be blocked from being viewed, but it won't result in your channel being shut down or anything. It won't result in a strike in all likelihood. I make no guarantees. Mileage may vary. Void where prohibited. Offer expires. But realistically, yeah, the most likely thing is that it might content ID match and you won't be able to monetize that video. That's the more common. And then, yeah, the worst version of that is that it also gets blocked in some or all countries as a result. That's much less common. So if you're able to get away from the music playing in the airport or the mall or whatever, that's better, because then you're likely to avoid that whole content ID match issue. And if you get a content ID match, you might not be able to put info cards on the video because the monetized copyright holder might do it for you. So some good reasons not to. Didn't know Amazon owned Twitch. Yeah, they bought it a little while ago. A year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now. It's been a bit of time. Paige Kennedy was huge on Vine, but his... Oh, that's a dude? Okay. Paige, I was like, oh, who's she? Whoops. On Vine, but his YouTube is nowhere near as successful. That happens. And then some people, like Paul Brothers, blew up after the conversion even more. So, and it could be because they brought an audience in from somewhere else. That's what... the van life girl did. She had this tens of thousands of followers on Instagram and start a new channel, get them watching the video right away. It's a huge algorithmic advantage. That's how you get on Browse. And then getting on Browse is how you get on trending. Get mentioned by a couple of channels with millions of subscribers like Philly D. And if you got mentioned by Philly D, that's probably good for 50 to 100,000 subscribers like that. So, yeah. Have you heard there was a YouTube version of Big Brother? Oh, there's probably several. I'm not a Big Brother fan. I'm not a reality TV fan, ironically, because my travel channels, and this is kind of reality TV, I guess. I like to think of this as educational content and that as travel content, but, I mean, we just film what happens to us for the most part, so I guess it is kind of reality TV. I like things like Shark Tank and Dragon's Den. Those are kind of the same show. They even have some crossover people. Because I find it sort of educational. Undercover Boss. It's not bad. I don't like how they always have someone with a sad story and that gets the boss guy to cry. Because that is very clearly... Sorry, there's a fly. I swear I don't live in poverty anymore. There was a... I just know that there's a producer manipulating events behind the scene to try and get that crying moment to emotionally manipulate the audience. And so that always feels a little forced. So I'm not a big fan of that. Other than that, I don't know. I watch the news. Hey, Peak Time Racing is here. Hey, Peak Time Racing. Love Peak Time Racing. I just wish I was more into cars, so that I would watch more of his content and get more out of it. But he did a very great video about sort of like YouTube life that I kind of requested in one of these live streams, and he went and did it. And so thank you for that. That was awesome. I really did enjoy that video, and it kind of opened my eyes to what that's like a little bit. So that was awesome. Does utilizing Super Chat feature make live videos hit the algorithm more? I do not think that's a dumb question. That's a question that actually I hadn't thought of. But what you're doing there is you're doing a great combination of combining two questions from kind of before, which is like I was talking about before, like do monetized videos get a bump? And no, they don't. And now you're combining that question with Super Chat and the live function. That's actually a really good question. I would love to know. I suspect because of the very clear statement that YouTube has since said 2 or 3 times in official tweets and blog posts that that monetized videos are not treated any differently from non-monetized. I imagine the same is probably true for Super Chat. But let me tell you a story about a guy named Pro Venom. He is in the group. We've chatted a little bit. He's an interesting guy. He's a gamer. And his Super Chats are insane. He gets huge Super Chats, $150 here, there, everywhere. So he, however he managed to do that, this incredibly generous, rich, loyal audience, I guess, and like that's not criticism, that is credit to him, because he was able to do that so well. His earnings on YouTube are insane. And so, like, you were to look at it, and if you were to forget the Super Chat is a thing, you'd be like, your CPMs must be through the roof. But that's not what it's all about. And so he's actually been invited to YouTube headquarters in London, because that's where he is, to basically provide feedback and suggestions on the platform. And I think, I'm speculating on this point, but I think they reached out to him because he had his Super Chat game was epic. And they were probably like, hey, how do we, because YouTube gets a percentage of the Super Chat. So if people do more Super Chat, YouTube makes more money. So YouTube was like, how'd you do it? Well, and let's try to make it, let's try to help creators like you who make as much money. And again, I'm speculating on this point, but I think that they're like, how do we replicate it? Could there be, subsequent, YouTube produced videos telling people how to make more on Super Chat that maybe come out of that? But he's in the group. And I feel kind of bad because when larger, more successful channels come into the group and they post, depending on the approach they take, sometimes, there's, I don't know if it's envy or suspicion or whatever, but they sometimes get attacked by people. And that I really hate seeing that happen. And I try to hold myself just to the 4 rules of the group. So I'm like, as soon as it's bullying, I'll intervene. But if they're just skeptical without being attacking about it, that's okay. But like, I don't like when people don't kind of take my word for things, but I can also understand that people come in and they try to, make claims. I got messaged by somebody the other day who sent me a 1,200 word essay. Basically, it was a single Facebook message. It was like 1,254 words. I copied it, pasted it into Word, and did a quick word count because I'm like, this is long. How long is this? 1,200 word essay basically telling me that because he has 1 million subscribers and I only have 1,500, and I didn't fact check his subscriber count because, again, subscriber count doesn't necessarily indicate quality. If it's a low count, you can still have good ideas. If it's a high count, you might still be a horrible person. And the opposite is true too. You could have great ideas and be succeeding, and that's what should happen. Everything is possible. So I divorce subscriber count from quality of person as much as I can, because maybe they were just lucky. But yeah, he was like, I have 1 million subscribers. You only have 1,500. You're running the group wrong. Here's how it should go. And I kid you not, part of his suggestion was that I should kick everyone out from one particular country. I won't say what country that is. To, I think, call what that suggestion was borderline racism is generous. But I'm like, well, he did say the country, not a race, but not cool. So anyways, Super Chat. Does utilizing Super Chat feature make the live videos hit the algorithm more? I don't know. I think live videos hit the algorithm differently, in a way that might be favorable because, especially now that live videos on mobile have been restricted to channels of over 1,000 subscribers, there's probably a little less competition in certain kinds of live videos. So I think there is an opportunity there for a lot of channels potentially. I think as much as I was resistant against Achilles Melee's suggestion of me going live, I do think channels of almost any genre could potentially, when they have an audience of a particular size and they're getting comments of a particular nature commonly on their videos, doing a live Q&A might be appropriate. and then, enable super chat, allow it. All you have to do is accept a couple agreements and terms, type your name in and stuff like that, to enable super chat, and then go live and then maybe see if they start coming in. I don't know. That might not be a bad idea. I probably wouldn't actively solicit the super chat necessarily unless you tied it to a particular value. So let's say that I become big here on Small YouTubers Boost one day and I do these channel reviews and live streams, but I've got like tons of comments and tons of people watching. Would I maybe say, I'll prioritize the super chats, send $5 and I'll review your channel. I can't do it for everyone because there's too many. That could be a way of controlling volumes, maybe. So if there's a specific thing, like if you super chat X dollars or more, I will do X thing for you. Then you make it a little transactional. That might be a thing somebody could try in super chat. I don't know. So far, I haven't received any super chat, but I'll take it if it comes in one day. This channel's not monetized, so you can't do it here. But Vacation Impossible. Maybe we'll live stream from Mount Rushmore or wherever. We're probably going to the future birthplace of Captain Kirk in Riverside, Iowa. It's an extra 2.5 hours out of our way, but my friend really wants to go, and I'm like, I watched a couple YouTube videos about people who had gone there, and I'm like, it doesn't look like as much there, man. But all right. On one of our very first trips, and we have a video of it on our channel, of course, we go to Vulcan, Alberta, where they had a couple cool things. And it looks like Riverside doesn't look like they hold up. So I'm actually thinking about maybe doing a video that's going to be like Vulcan, Alberta versus, the future birthplace of Captain Kirk, which is better. And I don't know, 35 Star Trek nerds might come and watch. That won't be a live. That'll be an edited thing, because I'll do because we are also stopping in Vulcan, because this one's actually along the way. When we're going from Great Falls up to Edmonton, we actually will pass straight through Vulcan, so it makes perfect sense to stop there. That's 4 minutes out of our way, not the 2.5 hours out of our way Riverside is going to be. But going to Riverside is why we're actually able to go to Iowa's largest frying pan, which I always wanted to see one of those like world's or state's largest something. I've never seen one of those before, and I think you get to stand in the frying pan. I don't know why I care about these things that are probably incredibly lame, but I'm super excited. Let's see here. Utilizing more features could help the channel more. Yeah, absolutely. That is my belief. So welcome to the team. I agree. I tried live streaming the new Avenger movie when it came out. What? And they striked it and can't live stream for. Yeah, don't do that. Don't live stream content you don't own. No. I'm glad you still have a channel. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, I remember someone saying that when you're nervous before even public saying, just say to yourself, I have a good feeling about this, and that actually helps them. That's cool. I should try that. I mean, I don't generally struggle with public speaking, but yeah, that's cool. Whatever makes it better. Loves Shark Tanks and Dragon's Den. Bar Rescue. Yeah, I've watched a little bit of Bar Rescue or like Restaurant 911 or whatever the heck. Those two, when I've been on a cruise with my friend Sam, he likes watching reality TV, so he'll have it on the TV, and I'll be playing like Hill Climb Racing on my Surface 3, and I'll be like, every now and then I'm like, oh, they're talking business. This is interesting. I have a minor in economics, so I have a passing interest in such things. Bar Rescue, The Prophets. I don't know The Prophet, but that's interesting. Yeah, I hate pretentious D-bags with 1 million subs who act like everything they say is constitutional. Can I get that on a t-shirt? I love that. And I mean, I don't want to assume everyone with 1 million subs would act that way. It's the Venn diagram of people who, and I mean, how many of them are actually even truthful about the sub count? There's the odd time where somebody's like, kind of done that flex, and for whatever reason, I had 5 minutes to spare. I quickly check them on Social Blade. I'm like, no, you have 91 subscribers. You edited that screenshot. So, call them out, truth to power every now and then. I think I'm caught up on the chat. This is amazing. Also, it's kind of amazing. I've been able to go for nearly 3.5 hours. Wow, I really didn't think I would have this much time. This is awesome. This has been a blast. Does anyone have any questions or requests or anything in chat? Because I think I'm caught up for like the first time ever. Yeah, just so you know, it's been going for 3.5 hours. I thought we were creeping up on 2. This is so much fun. I really enjoy doing these. Man, if I could do this for a living, this would be amazing. I'd get up at like 10 in the morning, sleep in. I'm a night owl. I'd release a video on Vacation Impossible. I'd have lunch. I'd live stream on this channel, Pretty much straight through till dinner. Maybe write a blog post after dinner. Plan my next trip, and call it like that would be a hell of a life. I'd do that. That'd be great. So yeah, people in chat, any requests? Have we reached a natural ending point? Should I end the live stream? Should I keep going? Very entertaining. Thank you. That's great. That means a lot. Because the thing is, like, I watch Roberto Blake, and I find him very entertaining, motivational. He's engaging to watch. He's got a good voice, And I used to watch Tim Schmoyer, but Tim Schmoyer, to me, he's got information which is good, but some of the presentation, it's a little clickbaity. Like I was just watching a video of his, actually, because somebody in the group, I'm trying this new thing in the group where I called it Connecting Creators with Resources. And so what I did was I said, hey, ask a specific question about YouTube. I will try to answer it myself, and then I will link you to a resource related to it that will probably help you more than my answer ever could. And so somebody was asking a question about retention. And I'm not an expert at retention. I haven't really focused on retention. I bet if I did, I would do better. I need to kind of get off my butt and do the hard work. And the problem is because I look at it and I'm like, oh, this is when people think that I suck. That's a hard thing to hear. So I think that's part of why I haven't done that yet. But the idea is that, if you can understand and get your retention higher, it makes a huge difference in the platform. That's the next metric. It's anticipated watch time is the really big metric in the algorithm these days. So if your video is of a certain duration and your retention in the past and your watch time and average view duration in the past is of a certain amount, then the algorithm is like, well, then you're probably going to get X minutes on this video. Or this video's been watched X number of minutes on average. And so when you get that to above 5 to 10 minutes, that's when the algorithm really gets on fire. And again, talking about the woman with the van life videos, her first video was 27 minutes long. And so if people stuck with it for, more than the 5 to 10 minute threshold, then the anticipated watch time was huge. And so that's what really pushed that in the algorithm. And of course, this is coming out and coming to light. And I mean, we kind of knew it, but this is like a case study that really puts it into specific relief. And of course, this is coming out at a time where the videos that I've shot and I'm working my way through editing and publishing are all 60-second travel tips. And I'm like, I'm wasting my life. I'm doing the wrong thing. Because I try to have a couple different series on my Vacation Impossible channel, and one of them is, what I call it, travel pro tips. Although pro's a little misnomer because I'm not a professional. I make $80 a month off my YouTube channel, so maybe I'm a professional. I'm getting paid now. But and the idea was get to the point quickly. Short little tidbits that people can watch and gain some knowledge, right? I thought that'd be a great value to people. Algorithmically, I think I'm shooting myself in the foot or something else. So I'm like, and I was talking about it with somebody else from my channel, and I was like, yeah, I think this isn't, I'm not doing the right thing right now, but I made this content, and I'm going to get it out there. Some people will get value, but I'm not helping myself with the algorithm by doing this. And she was like, well, you could just draw it out. And I'm like, but that's the whole point, is to get to the point. Like, I don't want to draw a tip that could take 35 seconds into a 35-minute video. And it's like, okay, it's been 10 minutes, now let me answer the question. I don't want to be that guy. I don't care how entertaining it is. I feel like scum. Not to call anyone else that. It's just how I feel. Just wondering, if I changed my name to Clever to Swear instead of Clever to Swear, that wouldn't make any difference, right? Well, that's an interesting question. Because it would break it up into 3 separate words. And so, from a keyword standpoint, currently, it would treat Clever to Swear as a single word. If you were to break it up into Clever to Swear as 3 separate words, it would treat them as separate words, which might help with SEO. It might help and it might hurt. It would help in the sense that, it would capture that as a phrase and as separate words, but one word would be more unique, so if somebody knew your username from another platform or word of mouth or something else and searched it that way, it would be more likely to point to you and be less competitive. But the other thing is that swear Swearing is often flagged as making videos not advertiser friendly, which is actually super hypocritical if you think about it from a certain standpoint, because channels like Cinemassacre have, 3 million subscribers, and they're monetized well, and I'm sure they make great money, but I mean, part of his whole thing is swearing. So it's interesting. It's kind of like, yeah, swearing will get you demonetized, asterisk, unless you're super popular. A little salty, and I'm speaking from a place of ignorance there, so that is not an informed opinion, I don't think. So, again, we can actually take a look right now to answer this particular question. I'm going to search that again, just because this is an easy way for me to show it. So, Clever to Swear gets a 44 score on TubeBuddy with my Search Explorer browser plugin here. It's low search volume, low competition. If I were to go in and put those spaces in there, let's see what happens. So remember, that's 44. That's the number to beat. That's what I love about this thing with TubeBuddy, is it allows you to compare these two complex things in one number. So you can compare two terms with just a simple number. 44. What happens? 68. Wow. Did not see that coming. Might be better. I don't know. Can't guarantee. But a 68. The search volume goes up. Competition goes up too. But it doesn't keep pace with the search volume the way it does on the other search term. That is interesting. I have a few videos that are 3+ hours long with an average watch time of 1 hour, but that is considered low retention. YouTube still recommends them. And that's the thing. Because in the past, and I honestly don't know necessarily how much, because again, algorithm is all guessing. I don't know in the past how much retention percentage was important. But it seems like today it's not. It may have been in the past, but not anymore. It's all anticipated watch time. And so if your watch time is an hour, but it's 3% of your video, I don't know that it cares that much about the fact that it's 3% of the video. They just care that, hey, that's somebody on our platform for an hour. And that's money in the bank for them. That's how they view it. Watch time is key metric of all. But on a particular video, the way that expresses itself, the expression of that key metric, is now anticipated watch time. And so, yeah, that is why. And that's interesting. And I wonder how this video will do, this live stream of mine. Because we've been going for 3.5 hours. Holy God, is that a record? I'm not sure. I mean, for this channel, I'm not sure what the longest live stream has been. It's funny, I normally get tired around the 2-hour mark, but I'm like, let's keep going. We can go forever. All I wish I could do was turn on the air conditioning because it is, July in Vancouver. But that would be loud. And I don't yet have that. And I spoke to those developers of that app, that plugin. It's kind of like a driver plugin. It's supposed to remove noise in real time for Skype calls. It's not yet set up for things like capturing voiceovers and podcasts and things like that. But they are looking into it, partially, I think, based on my suggestion, because that's where I would use it more, is recording voiceovers for videos and appearing on and doing my own podcast. But for now, actually, you know what I need? I need to test it, and I think a good way to test it is if I were to do like an interview podcast. I want to test both ends of it. I need to get invited to be a guest on a podcast where we can test it out, and I need to have a guest on my podcast so I can test it out. But it's tricky because it has to be travel related. That's a problem for future Ray. I'll figure that out after my vacation. But anyways, yeah, anticipated watch time is the game right now. That combined with CTR, I think, if you can get a high click-through rate and a high anticipated watch time, you are going to rule the world as it relates to YouTube. That's right now, but these things change. I mean, you go back. Pre-2010, it was all about views. So that was the thing. And then post-2010 is really when it became about watch time. And so that's when you notice a shift. Pre-2010, you had channels like Hot for Words, short 3-minute videos explaining how to pronounce, enunciate, and the etymology of a word and its definition, right? And I mean, it was an attractive woman doing it, and it would, so that didn't hurt, I'm sure. But there were 3 to 5 minute videos, and so that got a lot of views, and so that does very well. And, you know, a shorter AVGN video back in the day does very well. But then when it was suddenly watch time became key, that's when we saw the rise of the Let's Player. That sounds like a bad Star Wars prequel movie. The rise of the Let's Player. And that's where you get people like PewDiePie and stuff, because they would do a Let's Play, a long play of a game, and they get a lot of watch time as a result, and so the algorithm would favor that. And so that was a big shift, and that's where you see that. Yeah, there was a further shift around 2015, and getting into that. I only learned about this recently from a video from Brian G. Johnson, which there's things that I don't like his thumbnails, but some of his videos, he makes good points, but he's clearly drawing his videos out to like 20 minutes. And so part of me is like, I don't like the game you're playing, but I am learning. So it's like, he's the guy you hate to love, for my experience, and so I'm not fond of recommending him like I am Roberto Blake, who I just adore. But anyways, I was watching one of his videos. He was talking about something I didn't even know about from back in the day, which was called Reply Girls, which is interesting. This is a crazy thing. So, and I remember this function from like 2010 around. They brought in this thing about video replies, where you could make a video response to a video. And so what they would do is they would just be scantily clad ladies who would reply to trending and popular videos, and they would get a bunch of views. And then later they, you know, pre sort of 2010, and so that's how they got a lot of traffic. And then post 2010, they made just longer video replies, you know, that was basically, it sounds like softcore porn. I don't know. I wasn't even aware of these people until a couple weeks ago when I watched this video. And so then later they were trying to tweak it around, I think, 2015. I mean, they took away the video reply option, but it was still a bit of a challenge for the platform. It wasn't well reported on because I never heard of it. But it did make some advertisers skittish. So you know what YouTube does when that happens. They react. You could argue they overreact sometimes, but that's a whole salty thing. And so they removed that functionality and stopped encouraging it. And then later they were trying to contextualize watch time. And so it was like, well, what's quality watch time? Or are you just watching something that was kind of vaguely inappropriate for community standards? And so that's when they started mixing in, I think, more the value of interactivity. Likes, dislikes, comments, that kind of thing. Because that contextualized it. Because I think they found that the reply girls weren't getting a lot of that. And now it's even further that it's a anticipated watch time is like the new generation of that. Because, like 2016, late 2016, 2017... Maybe even late 2018, when Creator Studio Beta came along, I think was really where it began. They were like, okay, well, if we combine click-through rate and watch time to get this kind of anticipated watch time metric, I think that was trying to weed out some of the problems that they had. So that, because like, how do you measure quality watch time? That's really hard to do mathematically. It's like, you know, what are the units of happiness? How many smiley faces is this and stuff like that? Like, it's really hard to turn it into a number, to quantify a qualitative thing. So, did I get that backwards? You get my meaning. And so I think the idea is that if they clicked on it, then that's a high click-through rate. You click on it because it's appealing and they clicked on it. Awesome. But what if they only watched 2 seconds? What if they clicked on it and it was completely misleading or completely inappropriate or just bad content? Whether there is such a thing as objectively bad or not, it wasn't getting watch time, which, remember, is goal number 1 of YouTube. More watch time. Yes, please. Hungry. Feed us. So, if that's the primary goal, then you have to have a high click-through rate, but also results in decent watch time. And so that's where I think the combination of click-through rate and watch time is where you get anticipated watch time. If I show you this picture, can I anticipate, based on past behavior, that people will click on it and watch for a decent amount of time? And not necessarily a decent percentage of time, necessarily, because my short tip videos, if it was about a percentage, my tip videos should be blown up, and they is not. I don't know, maybe they're just bad videos. There could be 100 reasons, and it's hard to use any one. It's really hard to establish causation, and that's why it's good to keep it like, you know, it's all about theories. But yeah, watch time is why things get recommended. I think that's really what it is. Watch time. The CPM is low. That's interesting. It's completely up to you if you, Peak Time Racing, if you want to share this information or not, so feel free not to. But I'm just curious what kind of CPMs you kind of hover at, and what would low be for you. I hover around a $6 CPM on average. Sometimes it spikes to some insane number like 10. I think I had one day. There was one day where I had like $100 CPM on one video. And I was like, what's going on? I remember I was in the mall I was at South Center Mall in Seattle. I got snowed in February. I was supposed to be in Walla Walla, Washington. I just wanted to go there because I've never been there and the name sounds funny, and you hear it from like Bugs Bunny, and I'm like, we're going to go there. And we couldn't get there. We got snowed into Renton, which is fine. It's a fine place. And so we were hanging out at the mall, and I came out of seeing the movie, that Liam Neeson movie recently, that's about him in a wintry Alaskan community or whatever, Cold Pursuit. So I come out of Cold Pursuit, and that was kind of funny because like we're snowed in, we're watching Cold Pursuit, and I opened up my YouTube Studio app because I wanted to see what my revenue was from the previous day, and my revenue is not very impressive. But for me, it was like I had just hit over $3 for the first time ever, and so I looked at it and I just started laughing hysterically because I was really happy, which probably seems silly, I'm sure, for like, oh, you made $3 one day, good job, buddy. But I just remember laughing hysterically and hearing my laugh echo in this empty mall because it was snowed in, and I'm like. And she's like, what? And I was with somebody. She turns to me. She's like, what the hell's wrong with you? And I'm like, we just made like $3.12 yesterday. It's amazing. And I went in and I wanted to understand it better. And so I have this video that's like a minute. It's not very long. Of what's known as peer runners. This is a cruising thing. These are people who are late for the cruise and they're running for the cruise ship. And so... the community's a little torn because sometimes they think, oh, like you're mocking people at a moment that's like scary for them. But honestly, I'm like, you've been told a million times when the ship was leaving, the fact that you're keeping us late, I will absolutely point my camera at you and maybe make $3 off you. And so it was funny because the spike was that video got a bunch of views that day at this insanely high CPM. I mean, it only got like 150 views or something, but that was like big for that video. It's still big for my channel. One video, that many views in one day. And it was getting it at like a really high CPM. And I was like, it was like $100 CPM, but like not all the views were monetized, so it ended up working out to whatever the math was. But I was like, wow, I got to get more people watching this video, and it's never repeated, but it's just interesting to understand sort of where CPMs are at and how they fluctuate because. I've hit a pretty, as I understand, I've hit a pretty sweet spot with my Vacation Impossible channel because I have. And it's interesting. Traditional television is focused on a demographic of a somewhat younger audience. The idea is if you get them sort of as young adults, then you might end up with a customer for life. I think that's some of the mentality. These are people with disposable income, but they're not set in their ways, so it's easier to convince them. Maybe more susceptible to suggestion, however you want to think of it. But that could be part of it. And so... that's sort of the more traditional. It's like the 18 to 35 demographic, I think, is in television, what your sweet spot is. But for CPMs, it's interesting. CPMs seem to do better at older demographics. And my channel, because it's about travel, and so you want to have disposable income to travel more, it trends... My travel channel is, 25 to 44, I think is my target... Not my target demographic, but my primary demographic. That's where like 60% of my views come from. It's that age range, 25 to 44, which, I mean, that's pretty good. And so my understanding is that older demographic actually works better for CPMs. And I'm trying to understand why. And I've been doing a little research on this. And so I think part of it is that the younger audience, particularly sub-18, like really young, like YouTube kids, they will watch lots of videos, right? And so their ad exposure rate is higher. They'll see more of them. And so it might be harder to resonate. It might be harder to stand out in a crowd. But if it's an older audience that watches fewer videos, it might be harder to get views, watch time, and subscribers because it's harder to get them. But they're like... what do they call them? They're a special kind of consumer. I forget the word. Something consumer. Alpha consumer, I think, is what they're called. I think that's the advertising term. An alpha consumer is a little bit more affluent, a little bit older, but they have more money to spend. These are the people who are the first to try new technology, try new things. They're trendsetters. People look to them potentially, and so they might have expensive tastes and things like that. And so I think that my video trends a little closer to alpha consumers. I mean, I make enough money to travel 6 cruises in 1 year, but I'm by no means rich. Depending on your scale of comparison, I mean, compared to the third world, yeah. And so I realized, first world problems, and there's a lot of I'm fortunate there, a lot of privilege there, and I do appreciate that. And I do try to pay things forward, donate to charity, work to charity, things of that nature. But that having been said, I'm by no means myself an alpha consumer. I don't think I meet that threshold. I don't think I'm making enough money, and I'm okay with that. The family car is in peak time racing. You're going to cringe at this probably. The family car is a 06 Yaris. And it's not in great condition. It's got some battle damage on the front. So, just to give you an idea of my economic stature. But I think I trend towards people with disposable income of a certain age. And so they watch fewer videos, but because of that, the ads they see, I think, are more likely to resonate. Because it's the signal to noise ratio is different. And so I think that's part of what makes that interesting. And so I've hit an interesting segment, and I kind of don't want to mess with the secret sauce too much because I think my CPMs are pretty decent. But as a result, I'm not growing my subscriber growth very fast because it's not I don't think the demographic is the kind that subscribes a lot and that there are a lot of them. So that's a tricky thing. Which is a shame because I would really like to unlock some additional features on the platform, mostly so I can come back and tell you guys how they work. I want to tell you what it's like to have a merch shelf and how that works. I want to be able to tell you what is channel membership like, from the back end and managing that, and how do you set it up and how do you get there? I want to be able to tell you guys those things. I'd love to tell you what a play button smells like. I love, this is my second time referencing this movie in this live stream, but I love Good Will Hunting. And one of the things they talk about is, if you haven't seen the film, it's about a guy who, he kind of grew up in poverty in Boston, and he reads a lot. And so he's a really smart guy, but it's from spending time on his own at the library. He's a self-educated man. And so he's talking to this guy, this counselor, about, taking risks and living life and getting out of your bubble and things of that nature. And he says, you can tell me all about how Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel, but you can't tell me what it smells like in the Sistine Chapel because you've never been there, champ. And I love that. I love that moment. And that movie came out in 98 or something. And then in 2005, my grandfather passed away, and there was a family inheritance. And my mother took us to Europe for the first time. And so we went to, among other things, the Sistine Chapel. And so I got to stand in the Sistine Chapel and take a deep breath. 1997. Thank you. So 8 years later, I'm remembering that I'm in the Sistine Chapel, and I'm like, it's my Good Will Hunting moment. I'm living life. I'm not locked in a library. I'm doing what you're supposed to be doing with your life and living a full and rich life, the kind that you're going to look back on your deathbed and be like, I kicked some ass. I did some things. And so I'm there, and I take a deep breath of the Sistine Chapel, and it stinks of tourist sweat, and it's horrible, and I'm retching. Like, oh God, why did I do that? What's wrong with me? This is horrible. Robin Williams, you've led me astray. What the hell were you talking about in that movie, you sick bastard? My mom looks over to me, she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, Robin Williams lied. Like, what the hell are you talking about? And in all reality, I do not blame Robin Williams. He was an actor beautifully performing a well-written script. I think, didn't Affleck and Damon co-write that script? They are who I shall blame for that disgusting moment of nearly vomiting in the Vatican. The Vatican Museum, not the Basilica. But anyways, that was a thing. He did not say it smelled good. He said, you don't know what it smells like. And I watched that at age 17, and I was like, God damn it, one day I am going to know the answer to that question. And now I do, and I have nothing but regret. I do not regret going to Rome. I do not regret going to the Vatican and the Sistine Chapel and the Vatican museums. But man, that's the thing. And so, like, I would love one day to be able to tell you what a play button smells like fresh out of the box. I don't think it's gonna happen, but a guy can dream. You never know. Maybe I'll win the YouTube lottery and my number will come up at some point. That would be amazing. But yeah, Clever Swear remembers Reply Girls. Cool. Taco Cat Gaming Crew, welcome. Glad to have you here. DJ Talks, getting some OG small YouTubers boosts here in chat. That's awesome. I'll visit a public toilet to get the Sistine Chapels. Public toilet's probably worse. This is like, I mean, God, I was there in June. It was a hot day in June. But yeah, it wasn't, there was no urine smell. There was no fecal matter smell. It was just sweat. It was because in the Sistine Chapel is actually a really small room. And so you're crammed in there with a bunch of other tourists. And the thing is that is often the last thing people see in the Vatican Museum. So when you go to the Vatican Museum, there is an epic, like, 5-hour line just to get in. I know how to skip the line and save money. Vacation Impossible. Subscribe. And podcast and all that stuff. These are the things I talk about. Is I can skip you the 5-hour line to get into this the Vatican Museum and save you money at the same time. And so we did that. But we were surrounded by people who did not know better and who did not do that. And so they stayed in line in the bright hot sun for 5 hours and then got in, then walked around the museum and saw all the things. And there is this lovely, lovely thing. There's a corridor that leads to the Sistine Chapel. And in my opinion, not a popular opinion, it is better than the Sistine Chapel. It's the Hall of Maps. And there's all these maps that are actually like tapestries or things that were painted. And they have such amazing, intricate detail on every one of them. And it goes on for what feels like a football field. So much there. And so you work your way down there, you're amazed, and the ceiling, like there's and it's like gold everywhere. It's absolutely amazing. Sorry, just figuring out dinner plans. Gonna have to wrap this up soon. And it's absolutely amazing walking down the Hall of Tapestries. And so you're like, and everyone is just more impressive. Great art on the ceiling, and like gold crown molding everywhere, and you're just like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And then you walk into the Sistine Chapel, and it's a tiny little room, and you're looking at this old painted ceiling, and so you've heard of it all your life. You appreciate the challenges in painting it, and the scaffolding and all the other stuff, and you appreciate and like the challenges of like keeping it up and keeping repairs and stuff that are done to it and everything. But you're now in this tiny cramped room with as many people as you can possibly fit in. And they've gone through this experience that all motivates them to sweat. And so it's stinky. But yeah, it's not, there's no urine smell, there's no fecal matter, there's nothing like that, there's no, urinal puck smell. It's just sweaty dudes. It's this, I mean, this is going to sound bad, and I don't mean this in a racial way at all, but it just smells like sweaty European people because you're in Europe. and it's hot. And so, and you've been eating European food, so you are making that smell yourself. It's not a racial thing. It's a cuisine thing, if anything. But yeah, that's that. And I've also got a trick to save you time that takes you directly from the Sistine Chapel into the Basilica and saves you having to go through another 45-minute, half-hour wait and modesty check before going into the Basilica. So I'll just tease you with that. So yeah, and the pictures, they're pretty amazing. $3 you made bank! I did. I made a piggy bank. A small piggy bank. A toddler's piggy bank, something. Anyways, this has been a blast. We're coming up on nearly 4 hours, and my dinner's coming, and I'm getting tired. Even though this has been a lot of fun, full of energy, it's a blast. I'm so glad I was able to do this. This is fantastic. So please, if you're able to subscribe with notifications turned on so you can catch our very next live stream. I always go chronologically from chat, as you probably noticed, so the sooner you join, the sooner you speak up in chat, the sooner I'll be able to take care of whatever your request is, a tutorial, Q&A, channel review, look at the tags and meta tags on your video, whatever else. You can request a funny story. I can tell you what it's like to run a large YouTube group on Facebook. 90,000 members strong, creeping up on 1,000K. I mean, 100K. That's insane, but super exciting. I'm glad it was helpful. Check out the other videos on this channel. I've got some live stream clips of previous live streams. I've got some TubeBuddy tutorials. You can watch my short love affair with the promo box from Vistaprint before they shut it down. I've even started, I only have one video out so far, but talking about sort of the tech behind YouTube. So specifically I talk about a couple cheap used GoPros, or just you could buy old new GoPros to start out and use. And so I'm thinking about maybe continuing that. I have a plan to do a video series on buying an editing PC in 2019 later this year. So hopefully stuff that's really useful. We also have member tips. So if you would like to have a video on this channel, feel free to contact me through Facebook. The way it works is if you're a member of the Facebook group and you've got a tip you want to share, you can share it on this channel. So you'll send me the video file. Because it's just simpler, I'll retain all rights to the video, but you can have a graphic overlay. You can mention for your channel. You can mention your channel. I will put a link to your channel in the description. I will put a link to your channel in an info card, and I will put a link to your channel in the end card. But that's sort of the deal, that if you happen to want to pay it forward, or you got something you want to share, we've got a few here on the channel that are pretty cool. Ideas like the first one, Stupid Robot Fighting League, suggests that you reach out to a local band. That worked out well for him, and that's a pretty unusual idea, which is pretty cool. I wouldn't have never thought of that. So there you have it. This has been a lot of fun. I try to sometimes end these with a suggestion, a task, because my channel is Vacation Impossible. I try to give you a Mission Impossible style thing to do. And so here it is, your mission, if you choose to accept it. I want you to try and write down the value that your channel gives in 10 words or less. I want you to then see how many of those words you can cut out. See how tight you can get it down. How few words can you get the value your channel gives to people? But, 10 is fine. And then I want you to, now you've got something in front of you, and I want you to create something with it. As Roberto Blake would say, create something awesome. Make a graphic out of it and post it to Instagram. Maybe look at some of your channel art. Maybe include that. Maybe tweet it. Maybe, put it in your About page, or maybe it can help inspire or be the title of a new channel trailer. That's an idea. What value do you want people to get from your channel? 10 words or less, and then go and make something of it. I hope it works out for you. I hope the see all be very successful. Remember me when you're famous. This live stream will self-destruct in 5 seconds.